Hey, this is Jason J. Lewis, Superman from Justice League Action, and you're watching SuperWonder Legacy.
You're strong.
I know.
Are you a sight for sore eyes?
It's nice to have someone who likes you for being you.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy, the only show that knows that Tom King can only write on toilet paper. I'm Jared. I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello.
Yes, I had to. So today we are discussing, there's the other reason why I referenced Tom King. The other couple Tom King has screwed up. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle. Oh boy. It's New Gods Week, ladies and gents. It's New Gods Week. And before you say anything, yes, we will be talking about the great. This is such the dichotomy of man, Britt. It's like we have a fantastic absolute Wonder Woman issue and an utter dog doo-doo issue of Wonder Woman. Isn't that funny?
It is funny, but it also shows how the priorities is just totally backwards. I mean, yeah, Absolute has the shiny new, creative, and it is an Elseworlds. So you can, be more creative. It does play safe, but Kelly still has a good, grasp on Diana. The thing about King is that what he wants is basically just a self-insertion and living vicariously. I mean, well, is he actually living though?
Well, here's the thing, Britt. Particularly with the, I'll go into this when we get to his Mr. Miracle book, but he talks about it in the introduction of the book that this is all based on his experiences.
I mean,
well we
that,
could have guessed that,
yeah,
but
I was gonna say that
trust me. Oh, trust me. That book was hot garbage, to quote Jay Heat. Anyway, so we're talking about the New Gods, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. And the cool thing about this is, like, obviously, Britt and I like to talk about the mythological nature of DC heroes and stuff, but it's like these two are literal gods. And the interesting part, Britt, did you ever read there's a certain issue of Superman where Superman and Big Barda are kidnapped by a certain person that's trying to make an adult movie?
Isn't that what's his name? Wasn't that by Byrne?
Yeah, well, hang on. Let me see who wrote this. Action Comics. It's Action Comics 593. Action Comics 593, and that is written by John Byrne. That explains so much. But also, I will say this though: John Byrne created a better Daughter of Wonder Woman than Tom King ever could in his Generations book.
I mean, that's kind of low bar, but
yeah, I know that's like saying John Byrne created a cake made of poop, and Tom King made one out of dog poop. They're both still poop,
right? So,
well, welcome to the show, ladies and gents. But yeah, so we're talking about these two, like, I guess I don't know if the right term is godly couples, but it's like these are very interesting characters that actually, and what's interesting, Barda and Wonder Woman have intertwined a few times, such as in the Supergirl book that we introduced her to post-crisis when they all invade into Apokolips. And I liked where Barda is basically telling Diana how much Diana inspires her.
oh yeah, that really is the only known matchup. And I guess well, Birds of Prey had them fighting against each other, and then in Ram V's New Gods. But I guess, yeah, really haven't seen them actually interact, I don't think,
No. Yeah, I
except for
know.
that.
Yeah, it's like yeah, that's
So
actually the
basically,
interesting thing.
just three times. That kind of that's mm,
Yeah. So what you have here, so to start off, obviously we have Superman, Wonder Woman, but so the new gods were a creation of the fourth world, and basically the idea is there were about millions of years ago there was one world of gods, and Ragnarok happens, and that split the two worlds apart. You have New Genesis, which is basically heaven. It's run by Highfather, and the father of Mr. Miracle. Then you have Apokolips, which is run by Darkseid, obviously, and who's the father of like Orion and such. And every so often they would go to war. And to stop the war from happening, and we'll get into this later on in the presentation, but I might as well tease it right now. When they realized that them fighting would eventually blow up the entire existence. So to stop that, they decided, okay, here's our truce. We're gonna swap sons. Orion's gonna go to New Genesis, and and Scott Free is gonna go to Apokolips, and where what happened was, at least according to Darkseid War, he would like break out, explore as much of like Apokolips as he could, and then sneak back into his cell. He met Big Barda, they fell in love, and then they fled and joined the Justice League, as I believe the story goes.
and they live happily ever after.
Yeah, and
They
then
really just want
and then
the
Tom King
domestic life.
and then Tom King wrote their book, and then they were not so happy. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
had
that
to.
was pretty depressing. Like it is.
Oh my, that was more than depressing, Britt. I still can't believe I read that whole book. But it's like, so it's like the point is like this is yet another couples comparison where we have two gods. So that's the really interesting part here for the characters. And it's like, as you say here, Britt, really well, it's like their marriage itself is a rebellion, because it's like Barda, what used to be the leader of the female Furies. I don't know if we ever find out what she was before she was a female Fury, because I believe all the Furies are captured beings, if I remember correctly.
They don't deep dive like really into her backstory. I think it was a YA novel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that does, but other than that, no, not really. It just starts with her as a Fury.
Interesting. But yeah, so then we get to, so Britt, tell us about the power dynamics in their agency.
Okay, so we know, of course, Clark and Diana. First of all, I want to say that isn't this kind of like a contradictory, because within of all of our comparisons of couples, they have the similarities and differences, of course, and the similarities are always in a sense of not just the power, but their understanding of each other. But we also compare these couples that still stand on godhood, or they are, superpowered. We
Mm-hmm.
rarely do superhero or hero and civilian.
Oh
Isn't that a
yeah.
Yeah, isn't that a contradiction of the fact that, like this couple is accepted and they're literally, well, little gods, new gods, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
It,
But Clark and Diana, they have to be basically put under a microscope.
Yeah, and it's almost like, if you notice, there's a reason why there are a few couples that where one of them is civilian that we may do, like Flash and his wife, but still, it's like, isn't it kind of funny how most of the enduring couples are two superheroes?
Exactly. So with going into that, the power dynamics, the role, and it's that Clark and Diana, they have the responsibility of the public, you know. You have the champion of the press and the warrior of peace, or the representative of women and children, as per Diana. And you also have Clark as a reporter, Diana as an ambassador, so it all has to do with basically being literal public figures, and in a political sense too. Um, and they also have this sort of celebrity status, and we saw in Perez run, or in that, well, really Perez with Mindy, of how she, Diana's PR agent, of how she wanted basically this media frenzy for Diana, especially with her relationship with Superman. At that time, they didn't know Clark's secret identity, of course, but Diana had a public ID. So it was pretty much just in the news that Superman and Wonder Woman are together, or they have hints here and there. When Clark was having an interview, I think Cat Grant was interviewing him, and it was a public thing, and then we have it in New 52, where they had like a little media section called News 52. And it was like, it was basically like a TMZ sort of thing of
with Ambush Bug.
Right. And they had that Clark and Diana's relationship being public. And, honestly, it's not them acting like celebrities in a snooty type way. It's more so of them being, they are known figures. So they are going to be out in the public, but at the same time, they like the private life. So, in a sense, that honestly gives more storytelling than the secret identity.
Well, yeah, and it's like also the other thing, again, and Britt and I've kind of alluded to this, when you deal with a secret identity, Diana really doesn't need a secret identity, and it kind of contradicts who she is. But I love, by the way, Britt, in our group chat, Britt posted a tweet talking about how like lies of omission are still lies, and I go, all she says is simp. So I'm like, okay, what? And then I read it and I go, like, okay, there you go, there it is.
Yes, because it is. Clark has spent his life pretty much within, the whole lies of omissions notion. And that was also a thing that ticked me off about Tomasi when during the truth run, he had Clark say that Diana, lies of omission. It was like, dude, that's your whole life. What are you talking about?
You invented the lie of omission, brother.
Exactly. So, it's kind of like a projection, and that is the issue with Clark and Diana's relationship, is that there's a lot of negative projection of other couples to make it seem like this couple is, toxic or whatever. But it's like, no, this has happened with Lois and Clark. Their whole foundation is lies of omission. Their relationship is lies of omission.
A couple's comparison we need to do, this is coming. SuperWonder versus Clois. Eventually we're gonna have to do that. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Shall we leave it to the chat?
They're messy.
Chat. Should we do in the future an episode where we compare SuperWonder to Clois like this, in this format? Obviously, we'll crap on Clois, but should we do that also to torture Brett?
That is going to be messy. Don't be messy.
Cameron's my man. There you go.
So messy.
Who else wants it? Who else wants it? Put your votes in. We will abide by this decision. And
that Britt, is not fair.
Britt, think of the content. Think of the content. Yes, suffer the ship that is close. Oh my gosh, where's Lord Zed saying his Lois dead yet? Oh my god, that's gonna be fun. All right. So let's move on to this. So then you have Intimacy, communication, and emotional texture. By the way, I love this image drawn by Manipul of in Dark Side War. I've always loved Manipul's art because of his use of color and like light and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, his art is very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's sort of cartoony, but it
Mm-hmm.
has some other type of texture to it
He did
that,
fantastic when he was the artist, the writer and artist on Flash in the new 52, as a matter of fact.
yeah. But yeah, the intimacy and communication. So Clark and Diana, they have this foundation of truth and honesty. You know, that is in communication pretty much is key. Um, and that goes back basically to the lies of omission. They can't have lies between each other, you know, whether it is the secret identity. Even Diana, she doesn't push him to not have the identity because she does understand. It's just at that moment, you know, at first learning of it is, it does make you feel like you're um ashamed of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, she's right because look at the discourse of the Superman movie now. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that and how many people say, "Oh, his real name isn't Kal-El," or his he
They
doesn't
aren't
care
his
for
real
Krypton.
parents. Oh,
Yeah,
Britt, when I heard Gunn's justification for why he made that change to the parents, it lowered my rating of the movie. It now has a 5.
Oprah Jeff. You I
Oh, Jif. Love how now we're talking Jif.
I said this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to be right, but here we are.
It's one of those occasions. By the way, this is one of the times for those of you that are wondering. Britt and I don't like to be right with in these cases.
I don't. However, knowing the people involved, it's kind of like, yeah, the shoe is going to drop. Someone is going to shoot themselves in the foot, something.
With a shotgun, mind you. But it's like the other thing. These two. So you know what's kind of interesting about these two couples, Britt? They both the women in these couples are like the strongest, toughest warriors in the DC universe.
Right.
Now, I don't want to go too far. I'm not saying that like that's all Diana is, obviously, but I'm like it's interesting how like these two like female characters are like known as like the greatest like warriors in the DC universe.
And as well, I mean,
It's well proven.
Miracle, right. Miracle and Clark, they both are very supportive. They
Mm-hmm.
have their own thing going. But yeah, you have these two warrior women who are still very much independent.
Yeah, exactly. And and by also, I love, depending on the artist, this is one of the looks that it really depends on the artist. I love Barda's look, like her armor, her
Yeah,
like helmet. Again, it's heavily dependent on who the artist is, because in the wrong artist, she can look kind of dumb. I'm just
right.
gonna tell you that. I mean, obviously, Manipul, I like. Honestly, the artist for the New Gods book by Ram V, pretty decent, and Jason Fabok can draw literally anything, and it will look badass.
Right. The one thing I don't like though with the comparison is how fans now want Diana to basically be Big Barda light.
Mm-hmm.
Having her, I mean, Big Barda is Big Barda for a reason. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she is supposed to be taller. She's taller than Clark, but Diana, she's been 5'11" forever. Well, she started at 5'8", then went up to 5'11" in post crisis. Then New 52, she was 6. Now in rebirth or regurgitation, she is 6. She she's 6'2". So And honestly, the only time she was taller than Clark was New Frontier, and it worked because it was Cook's art,
Oh
and it
yeah.
she still looked very, she was very curvy. She and she looked like Diana still. When you're trying to compare her and make her just Big Bar, like you take away who she is.
Yeah, my favorite image from New Frontier of Diana is when, yes, NJ also brings up that like Big Barda is much taller. The other thing, my favorite image of Diana is when we first see her on on Themyscira, and she's like reading a book. She has some fruits
Exactly.
around her. That's my favorite image of Diana in that book.
Yeah,
You would think it'd
she
be
has
combat, but I'm
this.
like, because it's so graceful and she looks gorgeous.
Exactly. She has this gracefulness to her, and like she's still very feminine. A lot of these fans want to take away her femininity and take away
Exactly.
like the want her to be like this muscle mommy thing. And it's like, no, that's not who she is. She is supposed to be still very feminine and but have that strength though. But I mean, the whole thing about beautiful as Aphrodite,
Hmm.
it's kind of, subjective, whatever. But that's still a thing, you know. And again, she is supposed to be feminine. Her her strength isn't actual outer appearance of being jacked. No,
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
I really don't like that trying to make her
And
like
NJ,
Big Barda.
no, they're not supposed to be like giants.
No.
Even the mythological Amazons were not that tall.
That honestly, I blame um Futurama, that show for that, um, for thinking that. But here, when you hear like the saying or whatever, or the expression of a woman is like an Amazon, it's a it would be a tall woman, yes, but she would be about 5'11". You know, she
Hmm.
would be at that height pretty much max, and she would be curvy and everything like that. That is what an Amazon is, um, in reality. But the tall, jacked bodybuilder linebacker type, no,
That's
that's
the one and only reason that actress named I think Katie something was someone people was trying to promote as like playing Wonder Woman.
no, no, no. Diana is not like Katie is a good actress and everything, but she doesn't embody who Diana is. Diana is still supposed to be, as I said, very feminine. Um, she, I like the way Tony Daniel described Diana is to be like a tennis player build,
Yep.
you know?
Hmm. Exactly. They're not supposed to be this like jacked yeah, muscle mommies. No, absolutely not. But anyway, so continuing on to let's talk about the public life symbolism and visual iconography.
Okay, so of course you have Clark and Diana as the face of um well, I would say Batman is the face of DC,
Hmm. Yeah.
but they are the face of the superhero genre as the mother and father. You
But Britt, I thought Lois was the first lady of the DC universe.
who?
Yeah, I know. I know.
No, she might be. She's only that. Honestly, I would say that she's. No, she's not that. No, I can't even make up anything. No,
I love when you tried to justify and you go, no, no.
no, no. I mean, the whole thing about her being, within for with Superman in the first Action Comics is so superficial to me because if that's the case, yeah, Zatanna's father debuted in Action Comics as well, you know,
Hmm.
in that issue or so. So he should be more popular than ever, honestly. Any other character that was in that issue should be more popular. So Lois is not special. She's just a love interest. And honestly, the way, people talk again with the double standards and contradictions, if you talk about a female character being reduced to a love interest because you don't like a certain ship, you need to have the same energy when you talk about, oh, Lois is supposed to be the love interest, so she's supposed to be the wife. Aren't you reducing her to just that?
Yes,
So, yeah, I need people to
exactly.
start thinking logically before they open their mouth.
But comic book Twitter and thinking logically, Brit, really?
True, true. But yeah, so yes, they are within the American, iconography.
And
Um,
always will be, no matter what some people try and
yes,
say.
but at the same time, they are supposed to represent immigrants, and
By the way, my
outsiders.
favorite is I see people trying to like redesign Diana's costume to get all the Americanness out of it, but they always design like the most bland costumes. Have you
Oh
noticed
my
that?
God. Yes, it is bland. I mean, I like the white and gold.
Oh, the
That is
white and
good.
gold is like okay, but I saw one that was like all like very, very, very dark tones, and I go, the hell is this?
Or saying like, even Absolute Wonder Woman. I mean, yeah, she's black and red, but in a sense of, I would say, in a sense of outside media, that's a total different character. Like, no one would really know that this is Wonder Woman, you know? Like, she's supposed to be brighter and a little bit more, um, she's still friendly, but it's just something about just the way to market her.
Hmm.
You can't say, oh, this is the princess of hell. You can't say that, when trying to market it to kids,
Oh
in a
yeah.
sense. Um, and all of that, unless it is marketed as the Elseworlds that it is. But main media, no, she can't be that. She does have to have the bright colors. Yeah, can we switch the whole American flag, star spangled,
But here's the thing:
underwear?
it's like arguably at this point that has like changed. It's not because when you when you look at the origin now, it's like even in the new 52, it wasn't the origin. I don't think they did the thing where like the costume is designed like the flag of like where that person came from. So it's like no, but it's like beyond that. It's like here's the thing: you really can't though because it's like these characters see here's the thing. I understand that the characters have global appeal and stuff, and that they're global heroes, and that's true, and that's great for them. You can't forget the fact that of the country they were made in. It's like I don't go to like a Canadian superhero that Canada has and go, you have to get rid of all the Canada-ness.
Okay. Did you just
I'm just saying. I don't go to like X to like Marvel and say, "Hey, Alpha Flight, get rid of all your Leaf stuff."
That's true. But yeah, I mean, it's a tightrope. You're walking a fine line, especially with the political climate. That's what it
Now,
is.
now let me be clear. I am also against putting Superman constantly in like covers with like all the American flags. One or two is okay, particularly on the 4th of July. But in Rebirth, it was like flag, 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 flag. And I was like, oh my God, stop.
And also he had that Wikipedia page published in those 4th of July issues.
And there was also a cover of him and Lois and John doing the whole recreating the painting of Washington.
Yeah, it's
I go,
kind of
what
like,
the hell?
wow. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you are glorifying American history as messed up as it is, I mean, not every the whole world is very flawed And there's a lot of mess, to put it slightly mildly,
True. The one point
within the
I will
history.
say, as the one counterpoint I will bring up, not is that I think people tend to think that all of American history is just genocide, 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 slavery, genocide, genocide, genocide.
I mean, most of it is, Jared.
I mean, yeah, but it's
Like
like
95% of it is, yeah.
95. I think that's a little exaggerating it.
Mm,
Mm,
I mean, no, from how certain things have been built upon, is very much a lot of bloodshed.
well, yeah, but that's like literally any country.
That's true.
It's
That's
like
true.
that's the thing. It's like my issue is like when like the fans. It's more the fans going like, we have to get all this America stuff out of there. America's the worst. And I go, have you seen the other countries?
I mean, you can't compare because different cultural things,
I mean,
different
France gave their
sort of
own people
things.
over to the Germans in World War II.
And a lot of people were taken from their own countries to come to America as
True.
slaves.
True.
So,
No, I'm not
either
trying
you're
to like,
given,
yeah, I'm not doing compare because again, I'll be the first to tell you that America has done some pretty effed up stuff. But I'm like, let me put it this way: occasional national pride is fine. Sometimes DC goes a little far with it. Oh, and trust me, I have an because Britt, you know me, I'm fairly patriotic, right?
right?
I had a problem with the amount of like Wonder Woman all of a sudden going that like, oh, this country's so great. And it's like, and I go, when has Wonder Woman ever thought that? And then also adding on to the fact that this is the country that was hunting down her family.
I mean,
So
the only reason why she's saying it's so great is because of
Stevie.
one, yeah. Well, I was gonna say something else, but you saved them.
Well, it's also because of the writer, but still, but it's like, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if like Diana would be the most patriotic superhero. It doesn't help that they literally had someone in issue 19 hit her in the head with an American flag.
Yep.
I go, what the hell is anyway, continuing on to this. So then you have conflict stakes and narrative functions, because here's the thing with Barda, you also have the interesting story of like redemption, because remember, she was the head of the female Furies.
Right. I would say that they are more on the cosmic side,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, but still very humanized,
Mhm.
you know. And it's more so about like the stakes are more personal, and it's about trauma. King did go overboard with the trauma, I would say,
Mhm.
but it is there.
Because
He
he
did
was
emphasize
traumatized.
it.
That's what it is.
Right. And then again, they want to live like a regular, normal domesticated life. So,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like that is really their focus, which is kind of the opposite of Clark and Diana as far as their relationship. They
Mhm.
are more the stakes. When people say that Clark and Diana's relationship is easy and there's no stakes, it's kind of like, do you know who they are? Versus with their road galleries, and then with just again their global perception as public figures, that is stakes already because they have this expectations and these responsibilities that they don't necessarily have to take on, but they do anyway. And you have this whole world, not just the Justice League, but especially them being these inspirations and being the number one, you know, male and female hero. So with their stakes and their conflict, it's never just in your face. it's something more of a character study with Clark and Diana, and it's more political, philosophical, things like that. Which obviously that is difficult for some fans to comprehend because they want it to be more like how they, you know, read it or used to in the traditional sense of Clark with his identity crisis. But you know that it's going to be fixed because he ignores Krypton and it's just Clark Kent, you know.
Hmm.
With Lois, she ignored him. Now they've retconned it to where she likes Clark Kent instead of Superman, or she likes both, and they get together, and that's the predictable, thing. But any other type of conflict, it's always a quick answer of either a retcon, a rewrite, or something like that for him. But for Clark and Diana, again, with their relationship being under a microscope, you have to really give it more thought into it.
And we all know, Britt, that the only way for Superman to have conflict is he has to be with Lois, right?
I'm, well, to have conflict, he doesn't really have conflict. I mean, even the movie, he he was kind of like a loser a little bit.
And it's amazing how little of a role Lois really played in that movie.
She was just the love interest. She was just supposed to be basically like his cheerleader. You don't really see the development of the relationship. They're just together. And
Hmm.
that's pretty much what James Gunn even said. He said the most important thing of Superman is his underwear, the spit curl, and Lois.
Yeah,
That's
so I'm gonna make the Kryptonians genocidal.
yeah. And that's his grand big twist for Superman, and that's it. That's all.
That's how he decides to make his Superman different. And I'm like, okay, guess what? You just went down to a 5, sir.
I mean, I don't know how different that is because Jor-El and Krypton has been demonized for so long, especially in Burns' run. So, I mean, how is that any different from anything else?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god. But yeah, it's like, so then you get so yeah, and you also have like more of the gods and stuff. Now, speaking of the gods, wait, do you think Kara's parents are good? Well, here's the thing. They did it is said, so someone asked about the Kara thing, and Gunn said, oh, so, okay, so that's assuming everyone on Krypton is bad. So I go, are you telling me so because the director of Supergirl was like, no, I'm not going to do that when you tried to make the Supergirl parents evil, you decided, oh, I'm just going to make it so just Jor-El and Laura are evil.
Yeah, just them.
This is
Only
it
because,
just keeps getting worse and worse. Speaking of shooting yourself in the foot with a shotgun.
yeah, and which is odd because that just turns the Superman mythos on its head, like totally upside down because Jarell and Laura were supposed to be the ones that pretty much rebelled against, Krypton being what it was with that led to its destruction. So if it was just them being, the so-called evil ones, then there's no point of Zod. And Krypton really would have not exploded, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if they were the only evil ones, unless you say that um Jarrell somehow caused the explosion purposely or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you're doing that, but I'm like, it's one of those things where I'm like, are you kidding me? But it's one of those things where the more they explain it, the more I'm like, okay, so you're banking on everyone making the Kryptonians evil, everyone agreeing on it, and when they didn't agree, you were like, oh no. See, this is the problem with him saying, "Oh, it's hyper dependent on the creator. I want the creators to have freedom." No, you have when they contradict you like that, you have to put your foot down, bro. You can't always be someone's friend.
And speaking of friends, the
Mhm.
fact that all of his casting choices is being his friends.
Or he only hired Tom King because he likes Supergirl and considers him to be a encyclopedia of DC lore. And I'm like, that of all the creatives you could have picked, Wade would have been a better choice.
I mean, yeah, Wade is basically DC's encyclopedia right now. I mean, he's doing a mess of a job. Like the history of DC is very bad and abysmal. However,
It's not all bad.
the Wonder Woman side is bad. But
He recanonized the Clay origin and made Diana not like thousands of years old. Come on, be fair.
I mean, yeah, you got the Clay origin, and yeah, she's not Jesus age, but I mean that's it. But her most important stories are non-existent. Except
no. They never said that.
Yes, they did. Rebirth, year one.
All he said, because all it really said. Well, here's the thing. It's like it's not like she couldn't meet Vanessa and like Julia after she showed up in Man's World, like she did.
But we don't see it. I need to see it, Jared.
You don't have to see literally everything in the timeline.
I do because I do.
But do you know how he like rectified the two different Supergirls, one dying in post-crisis and now she came back? What they did is like, so Supergirl still died in post-crisis, but you know how in the Superman Batman Supergirl book, Darkseid kidnapped Kara and brainwashed her. Well, in this, Darkseid brought Kara back to life, but Kara rebelled against him, and that also explains why she's so angry all the time.
I mean, that's fine.
Well, here's the thing. It decanonizes a good portion of that stupid Supergirl book, because remember, that included her origin.
Which Supergirl book?
The one by Tom King.
Oh, I mean, it's still getting adapted anyway, so it really doesn't matter.
Well, it doesn't matter. But no, but my point is the more that those books get decanonized, the better. We can undo a lot of the damage to these characters, like Supergirl being a drunk a-hole. Anyway, so, but yeah, and then Wade destroyed post-crisis Wonder Woman. Did he though? It's like, look. Yeah, he's not just doing a Wonder Woman timeline though, Britt.
I mean, he still should have done a little bit better because you don't have anything significant for her history. First of all, she's Wonder Woman 2, which is fine because she's not, as I said, Jesus's age. That's cool.
And if they're determined to, and remember, they're determined to have a Wonder Woman on the JSA.
Right. So Hippolyta on the JSA is fine. It's completely fine. I have explained that numerous occasions on Twitter why that is fine. However, the fact that you have Rucka's year one, where it takes away Julia and Vanessa, and their replacement is Barbara Minerva, and try to make her sympathetic or whatever. She's the one who taught Diana the English and everything like that. And then you're trying to justify Steve being young again. That's the only reason why Diana's timeline is as screwed up as it is now. And then it doesn't make sense with the whole with trying to have War of the Gods within that, because again, Steve is supposed to be old as dirt. So like all of the events that they mentioned there, it doesn't happen the way it actually did. But that only causes more issues, like John's birth. He is now in that 1 year later, whatever, when Clark loses his powers. So he's in post-crisis, but that doesn't make sense when, wasn't there like before the reboot, it was Superman walking across America or whatever? Or
oh yeah, because he was depressed.
Because he was. So, are you trying to tell me that Superman is basically a deadbeat because he had a kid and decided to go walk across America or something because he was depressed? Did you know?
Is that canon though?
I mean, they only stopped at that point, but
Well,
every
here's the
what I'm
thing,
saying
Britt.
is everything leads up to a certain event and a certain point. So if you're going to use this as a if you're going to mention something, you have to be careful with that because it either leads to something else or something else led to it.
Exactly.
So you can't take everything. So you can't mention a certain storyline, an event, and when we go back to read it, it's kind of like, wait a minute, that didn't happen that way.
Well, Britt, let's not forget, this is DC we're talking about. They'll retcon it.
So you should have just named it Revisionist History of DC then.
No, it's Mark Waid's history of DC because it's mostly his stuff.
And also, how is his World's Finest also within this and it's 5 years ago? How does that make sense?
Just consume content, Britt. Don't ask questions. That's what it is. That's what it is. Oh, I swear, if he makes it a canon event that Diana makes Trinity, I'm gonna be like, well, I know the first thing I'm retconning.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is that his decisions within these last 3 issues was for it to align to present day foolery.
Yeah, and we all, man, yeah, we'll see if that lasts. Anyway, so then we get to the old and new gods. So again, like I explained, you have the old gods. Now, here's the thing. It's gone back and forth if the Greek gods are the actual old gods, because if they're the old gods and they die in Ragnarok, why are they still showing up? So it's like it's gone back and forth if they're really that. But the point is, again, you have two worlds. I mean, you have one world that explodes, and then two worlds form. Apokolips, New Genesis. They go to war against each other so often. Apokolips is more of the hell and Satan world, and New Genesis is like the like happy heaven part. There's a reason why Highfather looks like God.
Well, I never thought of that.
Or at least the Judeo-Christian version of God.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like that's what they're supposed to necessarily be like an allegory for, heaven and hell, kind of. And it's like, and that's the fun part of this is how close, because Jack Kirby was like a huge fan of mythology. He was even the co-creator of Thor, so it was like, so after this. So I think that the way it worked is that he was working on the Eternals at Marvel. He had a falling out with Stan Lee and left Marvel, then did the New Gods, then came back and completed the Eternals essentially because I guess he patched stuff up. But it's like with the gods and the New Gods, it's like, here's the thing. Here's the other similarity. It's like both couples are technically members of the pantheons, and you can argue the Justice League are new gods. They're just not the new gods.
Okay. Well, now I want a story that really delves more into this then.
If only DC would hire us, then I can actually write that story. Because, Britt, how many times have I proposed the Justice League versus the Greek gods?
True. And the comparison, I mean, we just did that, last week or the week before?
That was a couple of weeks ago, because I think we had talked about Blood of Zeus, I think.
Not that one. It was, which one did we do? We do so many.
We do so many, that's right. I think
Oh, it was Diana and
Kratos.
Kratos. Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's also very obvious. And then Louise says, "Isn't the New Gods War a cycle similar to Ragnarok?" Well, Ragnarok is what led to the two planets like blowing up and killing all the old gods, which led to the creation of the new gods. So that's kind of where that like what went through. By the way, Dark Side War, the Justice League literally becomes new gods. Now, the only reason why Wonder Woman didn't get god powers is because she was already the daughter of Zeus. You give her more powers, it kind of makes her a little overpowered.
I would say that, now that it's a disappointment that Diana and Barda, or I know that Azarello, had the whole thing with Orion, but at the same time, what he wanted was Orion to be Diana's love interest, of course, but he was a sexist jerk. So that I would say do a whole entire do-over of, well, not so much as a do-over, but um in its entirety, but something along the lines of Azarello. He did sort of mix them together, with that and started to, but I think that he was more so into surface level exploration with them, but he was on the right track to blend in, showing the difference between the new gods and the old gods.
Yeah. Yeah, that's per se. Jack Kirby's mind is definitely. Oh yeah, oh yeah, very much so. But yeah, so that's actually really cool. And it's like the idea that Barda and Diana both come from pantheons. I'm like, okay, that's actually really cool. I like how they do that again because it's like this is what DC is. This is like DC's advantage over Marvel because DC is very much weighing in on the mythological gods amongst men, like portion of like mythology, while Marvel is very grounded. And you know what? That's their advantage. So anyone coming into my chat and saying that DC should be more like Marvel, trust me, if DC was more like Marvel, if you thought DC Editorial is messed up, try Marvel Editorial. And Britt, I've explained to you the many crimes of Marvel Editorial.
Yeah, but I'm petty, so I'm still saying
you could say that's why we did the Spider-Man episode.
Yeah, but I'm petty.
Trust me, Britt. Oh, trust me. So then we get to Superman, Wonder Woman, bridging the old gods, new gods, and the mortals, and that's that's the reason why I picked this image, because when you look at it, literally this book involved the new gods, the old gods, and the Justice League and the mortals. So I'm like, oh, okay, and plus, of course, this image, which is like the iconic cover that I have signed by Charles Sewell, really like communicates their worlds blending together.
Exactly. And this image also shows how, it's bombastic. It's something that's really supposed to be epic. Yeah, you are to have, a little bit of grounding in the sense of show Metropolis or something like that. But well, actually we do have that on the Gone with the Wind variant movie cover. You have that where even there it blends in so perfectly, where you have I think it shows Smallville, Krypton, and the Mascara.
Yep.
And their worlds can come together. They are the in-betweeners. They're supposed to be the bridges of the old and new gods. Even though they aren't gods themselves or don't perceive themselves as such, but the world does. And again, with them being public figures, they can, in a sense, give that perspective of, not so much as compartmentalizing certain things, but in a way, they're just to show the opposite of the gods. They don't want to be worshipped, they just want to help. While, yeah, the Greek gods in their time of wanting to be worshipped, if you want their help, then you have to worship them.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I love about this, the way this image is blocked, and I swear we'll get to the content of this line in a second. I love how it looks like Wonder Woman is running away from Lois. She's like, she's like, I'm out of here. I can't take her anymore.
You know, honestly, you can't really tell who that is.
It's because Lois is generic. That's why.
I mean,
she's generic grade school teacher. That's Lois's look.
That's true. I mean, even Kat looks a little. I don't know. You wouldn't
Kat
know that
has
that's
like
Kat.
her signature smile, though. That's why Kat works.
But she kind of looks like a villain. Like she looks like
Veronica Cale.
Yeah, she really does. Like, so I would think that that's Veronica. So it goes either way. But Lois really doesn't look very. I don't know. She doesn't look like anything to me right now.
She looks like a generic. She looks like a stand-in. Like the artist didn't know who to draw. She's like, I'll just draw a generic ass woman.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Britt. So yeah, let's talk about how they bridge, because yeah, let's go off of the idea that like the Wonder Woman, that like the old gods are like the Greek gods, because yeah, then it's like Wonder Woman is very much like a champion of the old gods, while you have like Scott and Barda are champions of the new. So it's like it's kind of cool how you do this, and it's like one of the cool parts of Justice League Dark Apokolips War is when after Diana's freed from being a Fury, she goes, I am Diana of Themyscira, daughter of Hippolyta. I serve the old gods and will never again bow to the new. And I go, that's cool. In a movie that butchered Wonder Woman, there's one cool line there.
I mean, that's very low bar, but
yeah, exactly. And my NJ brings up a good point. Veronica's better than Lex. I'm not sure if she's better. She just works for Diana. It's like obviously what if we were to make Lex a Wonder Woman villain, he's basically like basically Veronica Cale. I would not be surprised if that's what Rucka was trying to go for. Let's just give Diana her own Lex Luthor.
I mean, yeah, basically gender bent Lex. That's who Veronica is. I mean, that's the same thing if he's trying to say, Cheetah is Harvey Dent for Batman for some reason. I don't know.
Which even on that, Harvey and Batman aren't friends anymore, and Harvey isn't in love with Batman, so I don't know what you're doing.
I mean, Cheetah isn't in love with Diana either.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's like I was talking to Robert about this, and it's like, look, Rucka shouldn't really be talking about whether or not Diana is this way or this way, because here's the thing. He had a run. He didn't have necessarily a long run, and short of like a few stories, there's not a lot that people remember from his run. It's not like he was on there for like Perez for like 3 omnibuy. But so it's like, bro, just stop. It's like when he said that like Diana's bi and stuff, and then it's like, and then even Comics by Perch was like, yeah, but you didn't really like have a long run the character, and most importantly, you didn't create the character. So really, who are you to say what this character is?
I mean, he only wants her to be with he wants her to be with her aunts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's what.
Yeah, I know that's very problematic. And I go, you wonder why no one's really done the whole Wonder Woman. Anyone since him has explored the Wonder Woman with the Amazons, because it's icky. And that includes Artemis, whoever puts... I love how the Wonder Woman fan base keeps sharing that one damn image of Artemis and Diana from Earth 1, ignoring the fact that on the previous page, she literally says, I remember when you were a kid.
Yeah, that's very problematic. I mean, if you want to have Diana... I don't know. You want her to have the representation and everything, but you're either going to have Diana old as dirt, Jesus age, to have her with an Amazon, or
Jesus age, I love that.
or you're going to have that, you know, weird grooming type, with the Amazons, being that Diana is the youngest and the baby. She's
That
literally,
they've all known since she was a baby.
and they literally say, and Hippolyta, I think it was in.
Oh, and also, by the way, here's another thing that Mark Waid did that's good, Britt, with that history book. He made it so Nubia was the last Amazon to be revived by the Well of Souls, so they can't use the excuse that, oh, well, these Amazons are like reborn from the Well of Souls. I go, nope, not anymore.
Yeah, no other. That's true, but they still.
They still will do it because they still don't. It's because they still don't care what. For some reason, they're like, I don't care what editorial says. I only care about what Rucka says. And I go, he can only go off of what editorial is telling him.
Right.
It's really annoying. By the way, Cameron brings up a good point. I keep saying it. Till editorial and fanbase gets through the thick skulls, prop up Nubia. Yeah, if you want a gay Wonder Woman, there's Nubia, and she's a great character. So it's like she's already a character. This is my point. Instead of changing the sexuality of characters constantly, because this will be changing, because as far as we know, short of it being in a book that's never been referenced since then, and by the way, year one being canon does not mean Cassie is canon, because we've never seen her since then. My point being, instead of changing character sexuality, let's prop up the already existing characters. How's that?
But the thing is the whole self-insertion or living vicariously through the character.
Yeah.
And of course, they don't want to.
Nubia is hated outside the Wonder Woman families? Since when?
No, she's not hated. It's just the fact that they see Diana as basically the one and only Wonder Woman, and as they do with traditional dynamics, they only accept that. But she's not hated,
No, she's not hated. Come on. But anyway, so moving on. So then we have it's like the other thing about these couples is that and really with Superman and Wonder Woman, it's like and here's the interesting thing, Britt, and I just realized this looking at it's here as a Black Diana. Multiverses prove that. Yeah, but instead of making her a skin, they made her her own separate character. So they have nothing to say on that. And if they do, anyone that says that is just ignorant of the character. We all know how great she is. And how about instead of trying to push her back and to prop up Diana, if you really want the fan base to like Nubia, push her. That's my point. I'm saying push her. Anyway, here's the interesting thing, Britt, when it comes to Wonder Woman and Superman. So it's interesting how Wonder Woman is a representative of older mythology, like with the Greeks, and Clark is the representative of newer mythology, science fiction, being such that he's an alien.
Right. But again, logic and all of that deep character doesn't.
I know. Trust me.
It does not compute.
Britt, to quote, like, I forget who it was, but there was this one character that has this infinite knowledge. They're like, I'm cursed with knowledge. I think that was Lex Luthor, but I'm like, I'm cursed with knowledge that I can't use. But that's the cool part about Superman and Wonder Woman. Why they work together. They both are like representatives of a type of an era of mythology.
But also,
yeah, go ahead.
Even the Amazons were supposed to have, advanced sciences.
Again, that's the cool part of Earth One. It's expanding on that. And Barry Lewis says, Wonder Woman fans, we want Diana to be independent, strong female character. Also, Wonder Woman fans, 1 second, any female character interact. Yeah, exactly. That's the point there. But anyway, but it's like again, it's like that was one of the cool parts about Earth 1 is that it expanded on Diane on the Amazonian technology. And then he went on to turn Ada Candy into a fat person joke, into a Rebel Wilson-like character, have Diana into bondage, and then have like have the Amazon basically imply again that the Amazons groom Diana.
Yeah.
You see why I'm not the biggest fan of Earth 1, Britt?
I mean, the art was kind of nice.
Yeah, the art was good. And for the most part, I'm like, okay, there was some cool stuff in it. But it's like, when you look at like all, there's a difference. If this was like one or two things that were like scattered to be one thing, but literally everything. It's like when we first see Beth Candy, she's on the bus with like her sorority sisters driving to drop off food at a shelter. And they go, how come some of this food is gone? And then Beth is all bashful. And they go, did you eat the food that was supposed to go to the homeless shelter? He goes, well, they don't need it now.
And then you have Diana talking about, the parents, of Etta.
Yeah, she goes, oh, yeah, what's wrong with you? And I go, oh, God.
And then you have Steve being black because, well, as Morrison put it, that, white Steve is bland as white bread. And
yeah, but here's the thing. And then he has Diana put a collar on him. I'm like,
I'm kind of like, okay,
bro,
so
you know what this looks like, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like you very tone deaf right here.
Yeah, and by Louise, in terms of like, so help me clarify, New Genesis Apocalypse in between dimensions outside the multiverse. Yes. Now, here's the thing. That is true because New Genesis and Apocalypse exist outside the multiverse. Now, does that always mean that like there aren't alternate versions of Scott and Barda or like the new gods and then like Darkseid? No, because DC goes back and forth on that. But yes, you are right on that, Lewis. All right, so it's kind of funny. Britt, have you ever heard of the story The Nail?
Yes.
So there's a sequel to that, which involves Scott and Barda. So Scott gets like disintegrated, but his consciousness uploads into a Green Lantern ring, and then Barda becomes a Green Lantern ring. But because he's also the ring, so what they decided to do is also have it where like, okay, this is the curse of having a PG show. I have to be very careful how I phrase stuff. Let's just say Scott used his abilities as a Green Lantern ring to play with his wife.
What?
Literally. Like essentially it's like to give her a good job, he would like vibrate her ass.
This whole conversation just went left. Wait a minute.
I know. And by the way, NJ says, I prefer OG White. Yeah, me too. I prefer the original. Anything is better. Well, here's the thing. In terms of the Edda we have now, I'm fine with modern Edda, except for when she's written by Tom King. But I think that goes without saying. But it's like, yeah, I don't have a preference in terms of like what race. Yes, Lewis, I'm serious. When I say a story happens, 9 times out of 10, I'm serious. Like, let me say, Amazon's attack happened, and by Britt, we are still going to do an episode on Amazon's attack.
I almost said something.
Yeah. Who's better, Titans or Young Avengers? Sean, frankly, we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about Barda and Mr. Miracle. Please keep on topic. But yeah, it's like. But yeah, so that's the thing. But yeah, so Lewis, to answer your question, the new god typically the way it's kind of explained is that the new gods are like outside the multiverse, but this was back before. So when DC did Crisis on Infinite Earths, they blew up the multiverse, but they still wanted to do Elseworld stories. So they created Hyper Time, and the idea is that these are different timelines; they're not alternate Earths. And I go, but it's basically the same thing. It's Elseworlds.
People don't know the difference between Elseworlds and
Well,
whatever.
remember, Britt, we're living in a world where DC said it's all canon, and I go, really? Anyway, so so now we're gonna contrast Diana and Clark with Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, because like the New Gods essentially, like, here's the thing: when someone says like Wonder Woman's punk rock, that's not necessarily true. It's more Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, because they're always like rebelling against the system. I mean, after all, because she fell in love with Scott, Barda like rebelled against Apokolips itself when they fled the planet. And it's like, particularly nowadays, with Superman and Wonder Woman basically being agents for the status quo under certain writers, and particularly since regurgitation. By the way, Britt, thank you for giving me the best nickname for Rebirth of all time.
Of course.
That will all. I need to make, if someone wants to make this, and we'll give them a shout out, or I can do it myself. Make redo the DC Rebirth poster, but instead of DC Rebirth, put DC Regurgitation. That would be so good. So, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. But anyway, it's like, but it's like it's very interesting to see. Like, again, you know what's kind of funny, Britt? Barda and Scott are what Superman and Wonder Woman used to be.
Well, yeah, and then, because they were too much of, I guess, going against the status quo. And that is, again, the whole thing of the relationship is, going against the system and political, climate. And that really, I would say that the political stance is what really gave DC that push of drastic change to have them align more to being, the holders or whatever of the status quo. You have Superman, of course, being that nuclear family, the rah America, and you have Wonder Woman being with Steve as this bland, military dude, and he's still very much American. And within that whole thing, I mean, Diana, what Rebirth, Rucka, he had her on a military base. He everything around her. She didn't have, even now she's in Washington. Like,
because Wonder Woman 1984, he even put her in the same like apartment building she was in 1984, Britt.
Right. So it's kind of like all of this dilution of Clark and Diana's character is just for a very problematic status quo. And yeah, this is why these other relationships, pretty much that we've compared them to thus far, is able to really thrive, and they are still held back because you have so much against them, which is just the traditional status quo that people are still trying to hold on to.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Louise brings up a good point. The best nickname ever is Chucky Baby. Okay, wait until you see how this lady labeled the review of Wonder Woman 25 at the end of this presentation. Britt, when I was putting together these PowerPoint presentations, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh wow, that sounds like Britt.
Yeah, I just come up with it on the fly, but that's pretty much how I feel.
Oh, trust me, I feel that way too. Then continuing, so now, as always, we're going to talk about the fan writers and editorial receptions. Let's just say with Superman and Wonder Woman, it's nostalgia always wins,
even if it's actually the loser as far as sales go. Because I mean, with the fans, of course, you can't have change. Everything has to stay the same. Even if they want change, it's like it's too much or something like that. Or, I see a lot of people on Twitter talking about New 52 Superman, and they're like, well, if we could have him, but not the relationship. And I'm kind of like, well, if it wasn't for the relationship, you wouldn't have New 52 Superman. Because the the way his character was, being the outsider, being more aligned and balanced, was because of being with Diana.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was just that, DC wouldn't have, or Jurgens, or wouldn't have brought back post crisis Superman. They would have just put New 52 Superman with Lois, but they didn't. Even if you want to talk about Reborn, which is obviously out or whatever, even that, he wasn't New 52 Superman at all. They just use just the suit. But his relationship with Diana really defined why we got, you know, that continuing on of the champion of the oppressed and the one with the outsider perspective. Um, and then writers, even Dan DiDio said that they're very lazy. They want um, to basically stay middle road with everything. They hype things up, um, as DC's doing right now. They're solely going on event hype, and then they have to have relaunches every year now instead of it being every 2 years. At first, it was every 5 years or so. Then it was 2 years. Now it's every year that they need a relaunch.
Yeah, it used to be like long. In fact, actually, what's interesting is when they canceled Green Arrow due to low sales and stuff, everyone was bringing up like, remember when DC could like have a series no matter what character last about 50 issues?
I mean, yeah, these characters used to, but it all comes down to the writing, though, and
Mm-hmm.
when you keep doing the same stories over and over, the fans are going to get tired of it. They they want to have a cake and eat it too, basically. They want things to stay the same, but they want different ideas. And the thing is, those new ideas can't actually come into fruition or truly flourish because you have this restriction, just like Clark being at the Daily Planet. You can't have these certain stories of him being global if he's stuck in Metropolis. Um, and then you have their relationship just pretty much all over the place. Some writers like Conrad have it as obviously friends, but very ambiguous. You can read it either way. Friends with underlying feelings, just friends or whatever. And when they are trying to have this romantic element, it's cut short, kneecapped. So you have this certain thing where you don't really know the stance of their relationship. Yes, it's multifaceted, and you can have it placed, you know, um, at any stage, but at the same time, that development is still not, completely solid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and by Louis says, I find it interesting that when a franchise is declined, that in a certain new event helps a company brand to profit and recognition, but it's also not given the benefit of it because it was new. Yeah, exactly. This is especially true for DC. Yeah, exactly. Excuse me.
Well, it's also because they don't commit to something. It's kind of like when you know that it's a gimmick just for a sales boost, then it's kind of like, why even invest in it if you know it's just temporary?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like, so then you get to the fans editorial for Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Again, it's like nostalgia wins. It's like, because this is a pre-established couple where there's never really been another love interest for either of these characters. That's the advantage it has.
Right. I mean, you can have the same exact story, um, like we've done. I'll say Aquaman and Mira. They are the closest that aligns to Clark and Diana's dynamic. And but because they are already pre-established, Mira is Arthur's love interest, and she's also within the franchise, then it's accepted so much easier. Clark and Diana's whole thing is basically being two different franchises, and they aren't supposed to be each other's love interests, but the the unique thing about their relationship is that it still works though, that you can seamlessly put them together, that you know it's not something that's supposed to work, or it is because Diana was created to be the counterpart, but it's it still creates the challenge of trying to put them together but also keep them together. And if you have that investment, then you can have it long term. But again, DC is very lazy with that. In editorial, we see that they don't care unless it's Batman. With
Yeah.
Big Barda and Miracle, again, you can have them already in that predictable state of they're going to get together, they're going to be married. Their challenge is keeping their domestic life, their quiet life that they want, if they have children, um, like how Ramsey has introduced Olivia, um, then they want to keep her protected. That's pretty much what that is. And even with the powers that she may develop and being like this key to something, or whatever storyline that is. But other than that, I mean, it's not something that it's just settled. It's there. But again, with Clark and Diana, it's something that's ongoing to keep the challenge going.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's like, and it's yeah, and then Cameron says, now only if we can get them on screen together. Well, we did. It's called the DCAMU, and DC eventually screwed that up. That's the thing. Until we get like new creatives in there that aren't nostalgic for like the past, there will always be the fear in the back of our heads. It's like, again, I say this every week, but when it was shown that SuperWonder exists in the Tomorrowverse, Britt and I are like waiting for it. We were like, okay, where's the catch? It didn't happen, but we were both like, oh god, here we go.
The catch was the universe ended prematurely.
Yeah, but at least they were together till the end.
A premature end, but okay.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly. And then Cameron says, I meant Barda and Scott because I don't think we've ever seen them. DCAU had them together. But so then we get to key similarities and contrasts. Despite the, well, obviously, in addition to the fact that they've both been written by Tom King. So both parents have, both parents, oh God, both pairings are like essentially godlike characters. Half of them are warriors and such, and it's cool. They both definitely also deal with like overcoming trauma and morality, if you will. I think
That, and the one thing also with this image by Tony is that the way he purposely had Clark and Diana change positions, she's the one that's holding up
and he's
the
doing the
and
motion,
and he's doing the blocking bullets pose, whatever. That shows the way the dynamic works, that they can switch off and do these certain things, fun things together. Um, but we can't have nice things. But the similarities, yeah, they are these mythological, in a sense, beings, but they are, in a sense, looking for their own normalcy without it being, what's accepted or what's known in society as what's normal.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
has their own normal,
Yeah.
so it's just finding their happiness and finding the freedom and the love and the resistance against, these expectations and just this to be free spirits, basically. And you also have the, well, as you said, both of them are warriors, Diana and Barda. And then you have Clark and Miracle, who are the idealists.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, in terms of contrast, though, it's like, while it's like while they don't all while Clark still has a secret identity. The other thing that's kind of interesting is like Scott Free is actually like a performer. He's an escape artist, so it's like
Right.
he also has like a public identity, if you will.
Yeah. He, hmm, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think of that. Well, I don't know much about Miracle to think about it,
It's okay.
but
Neither does Tom King.
hilarious.
I had to. You set me up so well for that. But yeah, it's like, so he has that. So he also has, so what's interesting? Barda kind of has a secret identity. So when you think about it, the having a secret identity and not having one is kind of reversed in this case.
Wow. See, this is what we're saying, that whether you reverse it or it's within the same line, it's kind of crazy how, again, Clark and Diana is under a microscope, but these other relationships, because they are pre-established, whatever, are so easily accepted by this.
So they're all pre-established. Does that mean that they're predictable, Britt? But I thought couples being
And
predictable was a bad
obvious,
thing.
and yeah, yeah. Or it's always this and that.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? Wow. Wow. Isn't it? Cue the Owen Wilson meme. Wow. So, so it's like, and then Mr. and like Miracle and Barda does go into that like philosophical area, because that's kind of the area of like the new gods and such. And then again, it's like, because they have the advantage of being air quote predictable, they're also more supportive than the general fan base. Obviously, we know more fans than gives credit for are in favor of Clark and Diana being together. But then again, we also have super twits. Yes, that's what I labeled as the rabid Superman fans on Twitter, super twits. See, Britt, I'm learning from you.
Super twits. Oh, well, yeah,
I
that is.
still can't top repressed Chihuahua, but one day I will get there.
Well, you have to think of something that's not PG-13, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, so then you get narrative takeaways and story opportunities. So what you could do, you could have. Britt, tell us about the narrative, the story opportunities that exist for these couples.
Okay, so both couples, they highlight, basically what it means to be gods or not gods.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you have Clark and Diana as these public figures who are, in a sense, trying to navigate through all the scrutiny and the expectations. But you have Miracle and Barda as they really just want to be normal or domesticated. I'll say domesticated. Um, and the whole cosmic power and everything like that, they don't really care for unless it's needed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, again, Clark and Diana are the diplomats. They are these, even though they don't want to, but this is the job that they're taking. So again, it is sort of turning or twisting both of these relationships backwards in a way. You have one going, trying to stay away from a certain thing, which is Barda and Miracle trying to stay from the whole cosmic thing and the godly thing, the heroics and stuff like that, or whatever, and trying to escape it. And then you have Clark and Diana pretty much forced into it, though. You know, they aren't trying to run away from it, but they don't want to go to it. It's really just on them, and they
Yeah.
have to learn to accept it.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, so fun fact, that top image, that's from the Tom King book. And the stupid part about that Tom King book is it's super lazy that it's just the same panel over and over and over again with slight changes, but also just dialogue changes because he likes that 9-panel grid.
Right, he always does that, and it's so weird.
Because he's trying to be Alan Moore.
Alan Moore doesn't want to be Alan Moore.
Thank you. That's the fun. Thank you. I appreciate you doing that.
Right.
It in my mind, another story opportunity that you could. Here's an idea for an Elseworlds. So, in an Elseworld story, winking, Brit. Diana was taken from the island as a little girl by Darkseid, turned into a female Fury. Big Barda was like the surrogate mom for her. Barda essentially served as the absolute Cersei in this analogy, and then it was Diana's like. Diana was still like hardened and everything like that, kind of like absolute Wonder Woman, but essentially she became like she still maintained a little bit of her sweetness, and this like inspired Barda to take Scott and leave.
Aw, that's sweet.
And it's all about like them on the run and such. So see again, these are the Elseworlds I want to see, not like the umpteenth Batman Elseworlds.
Right.
Like, how many times can you redo Batman? How about you redo Batman where the Elseworld is not about Batman? That's the true Batman Elseworlds I want to see. But yeah, anyway. So, Britt, tell us about the history of Scott and Barda.
Okay. Well, as always, when we have to do these, it's really good that DC or Marvel has like sometimes a write-up, you know, because DC's encyclopedias, you learn that not all the information is correct, but also is very scarce, and especially with the characters that they don't really pay attention to. So, but the basics, you know, basically with Jack Kirby's Fourth World, which was from 1971 to 1974. He created Scott Free, who is Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda, part of the in 1971, alongside the New Gods and the Forever People. Scott Free, he is the son of High Father, ruler of New Genesis. I didn't know that he. I honestly thought that Miracle was like the son or somewhat or descendant or something of Darkseid.
Nope.
And you know, with the whole thing, I'm really not familiar too much with that whole thing. With the connections, I would say. Granny Goodness. Okay, so with that, there was a mini series with telling sort of the origin of Granny Goodness, and it was so weird.
Yeah.
That yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And she was like Darkseid's like
just say it, Britt.
I'm gonna say she was like a pet to him.
Oh, yes. You mean slave?
Yeah, she was, and it was very awkward seeing those panels of that. So yeah, that whole connection. After seeing that, I really did not want to know anything else about Darkseid and whatever else because it was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, Scott, he was traumatized by whatever else happened on, with Darkseid and all of that, and he decided to um he had the spirit of rebellion and had this obsession with escaping, which in a sense of mental escape from all of this trauma and also physically. Then you have
Hmm.
Barda. She was born on Apokolips, which I guess, and she was
Okay.
raised as a warrior, um, as part of the female Furies, and she was the elite, you know,
She
force.
was their general.
Yeah, and she was very loyal to Darkseid until she met Scott. They fell in love, and Barda wanted to help Scott escape to Earth, and she wanted to, get um, from under Darkseid's control. So they pretty much, just wanted to escape from all of that um, screwed up, twisted drama and trauma. And I honestly, they didn't have to do all that with Granny Goodness again because, you know, um, we see her. First of all, her name is Granny Goodness for sure. So, and
Mhm.
then the way she's drawn kind of like still an old woman.
Yep. Well, because she is a granny.
I mean, but no, no, they didn't have to do all that. So, on Earth, Scott, he's an escape artist, using a stage name as Mr. Miracle. Um, and he, both as a disguise and a metaphor for his survival. And Barda remains his partner, protector, and co-lead or co-hero. And the thing is also about these pre-established relationships is that a lot of times the woman, even though she's still independent or has her independence, it's still the fact that she's under the male character though. Like it's still in the perspective of Mr. Miracle first. It's still in the perspective of Aquaman first, of Green Arrow first, of even Hal, or Batman. And the female character is semi, reduced to that love interest. With Clark and Diana, you have to have them as equal perspective. And that was the one thing that Tomasi even admitted to, saying that Diana, was intimidating because she demanded equal spotlight.
Well, yeah,
So
because she's Wonder
even
Woman.
if
You couldn't have her be on the side making pies like you did with Lois.
right. So I mean, even if you have Barda as the warrior, you still see her, yeah, in this pose right here with Miracle and sort of coming as a damsel in distress.
I love the dialogue. Scott, forgive me. I was afraid for us. A warrior. You're better than that, Barney. You're a woman.
I mean,
The dialogue doesn't age well.
I mean, he says you're better than a warrior because
Mhm.
you're a woman, but at the same time, it's so awkward because she's in the damsel in distress. She's in the lowest pose, looking very. So it's kind of like, okay, I mean,
Oh, here's the thing. Lois may not be the first lady of comics, but she is the first damsel of comics.
exactly.
There you go. Yeah. You see, Britt, all this fun like banter we could have in the Clovis episode if we compared them.
You would have to keep beeping, I think.
Yeah, I know. So tell me about the 70s.
All right, so here we have their marriage. And it's so funny that they got married before close. A lot of these other pre-established relationships are far more deeply established and they have been married. So when DC talks about Chloe's being like this golden standard or this golden couple that's married, you have Aquaman, you have Mr. Miracle and Big Barda, and I'm pretty sure other um married couples way before them. This is 20 plus years before Clovis. Um, so the marriage was in 1973. They got married in Mr. Miracle, Volume 1, 18. And it's a very um, rare comic book wedding that of that era that stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And they also teamed up in the Justice League, during the 70s, 80s after they were married, and they were portrayed as the reluctant warriors, but because they valued their domestic life, more than fighting. And you understand that. We even saw that in the Batman and Superman Apokolips
Mm-hmm.
movie, that how, Barda was reluctant to help. Even though she knew that they were trying to save Kara, it was still that she just didn't want to um, open old wounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Keith Griffin and uh, JM, Justice League International. That pretty much popularized. I didn't know they went towards the more comedic style for them.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's like the Justice League run. That's the Justice League that fought Doomsday and got their ass kicked.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
was pretty
why.
goofy.
Well, it's
So,
like I get what it like. I get its significance to comic book history because that the book was big. It's like I went over it with Robert, and the thing is, for me, when I'm like, here's the thing, and my friend William from the Sci-Fi Center will back me up on this. These characters should never have been on the Justice League. Period. I'm sorry, no.
I mean, for me, I would say that it goes either way. The Justice League, what it was supposed to be is like you have a group of C-listers, unknowns,
Mm-hmm.
and they are able to gain popularity because and then, but when you have the A-listers all together, it just all depends on like what the threat is, and do you have a writer that can make the threat actually work with all of these more powerful characters. And obviously you do have some successes. Superman, the DC AMU version of Death of Superman, that shows how contrived that storyline is because you have your A-listers and you treat them like C-listers against Doomsday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why that doesn't work because that's the league that would have been able to beat Doomsday. That's like where I'm like where it's like well, first off, contrived. It's written by Tomasi. That explains it. But I'm like, what? Okay, so anyway, so then you get to the 90s. Oh boy. So what have we got from the 90s,
So,
Britt?
so with the 90s, you have them again, the normal suburban life, still trying to do some heroics here and there. But I guess here it's kind of like they didn't really um, care much for anything. And I think this is why the DL says that once you have a couple married, it like the story ends
Mm-hmm.
in a sense because they have their happily ever after. They would help here and there, with threats or be in events, but they still they still was written to only care for their quiet life, and they were still married, and they were the most stable marriages of DC. Um, besides Aquaman and Mira.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so it really wasn't much going on there.
Yeah. So, which here's the thing. It's like even when I had Comic Story on my show last year, one of the things he said was, "Look, it's like because I asked him about Clark and Lois, and he said, here's the problem with that. because it's like there's not that much that there's not that many stories you can tell with Clark and Lois that don't ultimately boil down to he saves her. That's it. That's the plot. And for the people that live vicariously through Clois, it's like, yeah, that may be fun, but it from a story perspective, you have to tell the same thing over and over again. It destroys any. I love when people say SuperWonder has no stakes, but yet I'm like, okay, he's gonna save her. Why do I care?
That, but also they also say that, oh, Lois saves Superman, and it's like, no.
When?
I mean, unless you her saving is the whole he doesn't turn evil,
God.
or like in the newest movie where, I mean, she really didn't save him in that sense. She asked for help first of all. She was protected by Mr. Terrific, and I mean, she carried him. I guess that was that. But
Mm-hmm.
really, as you said, she didn't really do anything to be like, oh, this is a couple or whatever. She's very biased, obviously unethical. Um, as a reporter, with their whole relationship, Superman giving her stories, giving her interviews, so it's really nothing, as you said, giving stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So then we get to let's talk about the 2000s with all the crises that are constantly happening with DC.
Yeah, DC literally has an identity crisis. Um, so they still have their marriage, and because of these big events, of course, DC is going to, use their characters finally, and especially when it has something to do with Apocalypse and Darkseid. So, and also involving all the other new gods. So this is pretty much where Orion and the fourth world comes in. Death of the New Gods comes in 2007, which I didn't know that. But you have Barda is murdered. I did not know she died. Um,
Yeah, because what had happened is in the follow up to in the lead up to to almost a Dark Crisis, Final Crisis, the New Gods were all killed, but because they're multiversal constants, like particularly Darkseid, their spirits were inhabiting the bodies of regular people. That's where you have Darkseid being like a crime boss and running a club called Club Darkseid as they were trying to find him a new body, and B, they located the anti-life equation and took over the world.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, so what happened with Final Crisis, so what happened is like there was so in Death of the New Gods, they're all like taken out, and but because the multiversal constants, they technically can't die. Like Darkseid can't actually die. So what happens is his spirit falls into the body of a crime boss, and he becomes known as Boss Darkseid. And then what happens is he locates the anti-life equation, which did you know what the anti-life equation is?
Yes.
Yeah, he locates the anti-life equation and distributes it through the internet. So it's like it's on every phone, TV, every screen, and when you look at it, you become a slave for Darkseid, and that's how he takes over.
Wow. Wait, so are you saying that like deceased sort of took this
Yep,
concept then?
yep, stole it,
Wow. See,
stole it.
that's what I'm saying. DC is such a rinse and repeat.
Yeah, exactly, stole it. And then, well, of course, with this, it didn't turn people into zombies. And then this is also the storyline, by the way, where Batman shoots Darkseid with a gun. So anyone that says Batman doesn't kill, yeah, he does.
So lame.
Yeah, I know. And that's the one where he gets shot by Darkseid's Omega beams, which are supposed to wipe. Because if you get shot with the Omega beams, not only are you killed, you're wiped from ever existing. But what actually happened is Darkseid sent Batman back in time. In a storyline called The Return of Bruce Wayne, which would follow this, Batman keeps essentially quantum leap jumping into different bodies throughout time, building up crisis energy. So when he gets to the future, he would essentially become like a bomb that would explode and take out all of existence.
You know, everything that you say
It's
about
Grant Morrison, Britt. It's Grant Morrison, Britt.
I'm more than sure. It was pretty obvious, but
did you know that the other thing? So him going back in time, the first place he goes is at the beginning of like Cro-Magnon Man, and here's the funny part. That's when the cult of Barbados is created. So Batman leads the death metal all the way back in Final Crisis.
Well,
DC metal, but still it's the same thing.
Yeah, Morrison did write something, or I think Scott said something that he was like a collaborator on something.
Yeah, so that's probably what that is. That's probably what that
is. Post-Crisis has a lot of questionable things going on. And it's kind of...
Lord Zed, on cue. Am I late for the death of Lois? By the way, Britt, have I told you how Superman defeats Darkseid in Final Crisis?
Doesn't he sing?
It's the so at first he's brought to the Lois. So there's a bombing at the Daily Planet, and it puts Lois in a coma. Superman's by her side. Someone from the future comes, takes Superman, brings him to the future, and shows him this is a wish machine. We don't have the energy to create it. You don't essentially. So we can't send it back with you, but if you look at it super fast, you can memorize how to make it. So Superman goes back in time, goes back to his time, fights Darkseid, rebuilds the wish machine. First, sings to him. Yes, he sings a musical note, and that shatters Darkseid. And then what he also does is he uses a wish machine and wishes that Darkseid never took over.
This is Morrison, right?
Yeah, it's Grant. As soon as you hear any story that's like, the hell is this? Grant Morrison.
I mean, you definitely have to be high as a kite to read this.
Yeah, Final Crisis can be summed up in 2 words, Grant Morrison. Yep. Right. Did you know that Grant Morrison was also involved in the storyline Superman Red Sun?
Really?
So Millar got to the end of the story, and he's like, I need one more thing to like clinch it. So he calls his buddy Grant Morrison, and Grant says, why don't you have it where it says where it jumps to the future, and then there's like and then they have the world is going to blow up, like a world that becomes known as Krypton. So they send a baby back to a ship, but because of space, it goes back in time and then crash lands in Soviet Russia. So literally the entire story is a time loop.
He would do something like that.
That's how the comic actually ends, as opposed to the movie. Yeah, I know Grant Morrison totally would. Oh, did you know that in Grant Morrison's Batman run, he made it so during Bruce Wayne's training, he created an alternate personality inside of his head. So if the Bruce Wayne persona was ever like compromised, Batman would turn into Batman without that wasn't tempered by Bruce Wayne. In other words, the most unhinged a-hole ever.
Morrison definitely smokes some.
Oh yeah, he does, and he admits it. Oh, and by the way, all the Silver Agey stuff for Batman, that's all canon. What actually happened was during Batman's like training, he was exposed to all these like hallucinogenic drugs, and that explains the wacky stuff of the Silver Age.
I mean,
so literally all the Silver Age is just an acid trip.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's Final Crisis. And then we get to Mr. Miracle by Tom King.
That's your cue.
Okay. So here's the book. Here's the plot. You ready? The story starts. This is going to start in something that you would never know from a Tom King book. It's something that you would never be able to predict. Scott tries to kill himself. That's literally how the book starts.
No shit.
And then it's like by implication, it's like, is the entire book just Scott like dying and was like dealing with grief, or is it actually happening and like he gets saved by Barda? Then it's like the kid is born, but Tom took like the actual. Oh my gosh, it gets even worse. So the birth of the kid. So Tom King uses an experience from like when his wife had their kids, and like they had a scare because the umbilical cord was wrapped around the neck of the kid in the womb. The kid's fine, by the way, but so they had to cut the cord. So all right. As you know, Barda is like super durable, right? So so the few female Furies show up for the birth of the kid, and Granny Goodness gives Scott a magic dagger so he could cut Barda's super durable umbilical cord.
All right. So all of.
And by the way, it's up in the air if the story is canon. Obviously, it's not anymore because it's like Scott and Barda have a daughter instead of a son. But and by Trinity exists purely because he originally wanted to do a story of the Super Sons babysitting Scott and Barda's kid, but no one gives a crap about the Super Sons. So he thought, what about if it's the daughter of Wonder Woman?
Exactly. That is the only reason why she exists.
And let's just say, so the story, yes, exactly, Lewis. Everything I told you is true. So there's a lot of like stories of he takes the whole like Scott, like Barda being taller than him a little far, in that he's also very, there's like 9-panel grid pages of Scott and Barda having sex. And it's like also he kind of makes Scott submissive in some ways, and I go, what am I reading? And it's like, why is this book revered? Is what I really want to know. It's not good. All it is, and again, it's like in literally when you open the book, the first thing is like the introduction where like the writer talks about the book. It's all about him talking about how all of this was like, he basically says it's his self-insertion from when he had a panic attack.
Everything with Tom King is a self-insertion of his PTSD, of his depression.
It's because he uses these characters as his own personal therapy.
I mean, my dude, you need to go to actual therapy, because reading his depression depresses us.
Yeah, and it's also the reason, and and you could see all of the Tom King tropes are reflected in his Wonder Woman run. I wouldn't be surprised if he has Wonder Woman try to off herself. I
mean, she is unmirrored. Or whatever.
We'll talk about that. Sure, I had to look up what that word means, by the way. So Lord Zed says, Trinity being mentioned always ruins my day. Join the club. Tom King needs to go to therapy and stop reading comics. Okay, so Zed, I know Trinity mentioned being like brought up ruins your day, but how about this? Or this.
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
Or this.
Burn.
I had to. I made so many of those, by the way. I may make more. There's so much more I want to make. Do you want to see one more?
You should make one of Steve.
Oh, that I need to do. But here's another one.
Excuse me. But I think this is yours.
That's what's going to happen. I get the feeling when it's inevitably announced he's leaving the Wonder Woman book, the entire fan base is going to go, yeah, and take your demon spawn with you. Oh, but so one of the panels, Mr. Miracle dresses like Dev, aka short, fat otaku. Yeah, that's true. What's with comic book writers and their kinks being put on stories unnecessarily? Talk to Greg Rucka. Anyway, so it's like the book was like praised, and it's like, and the whole thing is like, this is also a self-insertion for his time in the CIA, because like it's during a war with Apokolips and New Genesis, and he has to go on deployment a few times to like fight wars, but they have to fight. Well, there's like a civil war in Apokolips, so they're like stuck in the middle of that, and I go, but too much of it is stuck with like all this BS dialogue, 9-panel grids of the same damn panel. And as you can see, that really annoys me. And it's like, if you thought that Steve and Diana making out during a hostage rescue is inappropriate, read this book.
And you also have Diana taller than Steve to basically invoke the whole Big Barda and Miracle dynamic.
I told
as
you,
well.
this entire Wonder Woman run is just Tom King writing the stuff that he would rather be writing.
Which he has admitted to.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, if you're using this to pitch a Detective Chimp book, go write a Detective Chimp book. By the way, I wonder if his pitch worked because no one bought that issue. Anyway, but it's like, when I was reading this book, and it's like, because when he was on Robert's channel, Robert asked him, okay, so what's the deal with the ending? And he goes, I wanted to keep the ending ambiguous, if it's canon or not, or if Scott really died. And I go, well, it's Black Label, so no one has to reference that ever again. Rightly so, because who would want to reference this piece of work?
I mean, it happened with his Batman run. No one really talks about it. You know, no one cares for it. I mean, as soon as they changed writers, they broke up Batcat. literally
the next issue. Wait, Britt. Not only are they broken up, she's already in a sexual relationship with someone else.
That, and even his Batcat, Elseworlds Black Label book or whatever, 12-issue maxi series, it really meant nothing.
That was the petty series because he didn't get to complete the story. And by the way, how much you want to bet that when he's kicked off the Wonder Woman book, they'll give him a 12-issue Wonder Woman book so he can complete a story that no one will buy?
Exactly. No one will buy it, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it's like, well, I know one Wonder Woman book I'm not going to pick up. I will only, and Britt and I will only cover it just to dunk on it where it belongs. And by Lord Zed, yeah, it's pure justice that Tom King's Wonder Woman is utterly failing. His big reason for hopping on Wonder Woman, the daughter of Wonder Woman, is at 134th place, about to hit 200. It's delayed 7 weeks, mind you. And trust me, if a book is delayed 7 weeks, that's bad. And his Wonder Woman run is about to drop below 100. So I wouldn't, let me put it this way, if it drops below 100, he's definitely going. And plus, again, as far as we know, privately, he could be leaving, because it's like with Scott Snyder saying, oh yeah, we're going to be announcing a lot of creative changes in New York Comic Con. And I go, please, for the love of God, help me.
Just no more Rucka. Please get another writer. someone a little bit.
Please put Kelly Thompson on the book.
She can stay with Absolute.
But Britt, let me put it this way. From a business perspective, it makes sense that they would put Kelly Thompson on Wonder Woman.
I mean, having her write both is...
Now, NJ, we don't know yet. The earliest I think we'll find out about the sales is next week. All I know, here's the point to bring up, though. It didn't make the Bleeding Cool top 10 list. Guess what did? Guess what did, Britt? Guess what did?
Absolute Wonder Woman.
It's and Britt, tell the kind people at home, what place was Absolute Wonder Woman on in that list?
First.
Suck it, Tom King. Anyway, I'm begging you, Scott, do us some justice. Yeah. Oh, if he says that, I will take back if this ends, this will be okay, Britt. If they move Tom King off Wonder Woman and put someone other than Rucka on the book, will that get you a modicum of respect?
I mean, getting him off the book is a 0.1.
Okay.
And then
you know what's the hilarious part about this? I'm the optimist here, and it's like with Britt, it's like I have to squeeze for it.
Yes, and then not getting Rucka is another 0.1, but it depends on who it is. I would
Here's
never
the thing, Britt. Cheetah flopping makes it likely they won't give him the book.
Well, I mean, he shouldn't have the book anyway because what is he going to do? So
he's going to do more baiting of Wonder Woman. By the way, Dave says at least Tom King might be too busy making the DCU. By the way, they're adapting this into an animated series for the DCU. It's Elseworlds, but still, I'm like, no. So people's first exposure to Scott and Barda is going to be this crap?
Yeah, it's... I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised of, Gunn's choices. He knows how controversial Tom King is and everything. I'm pretty sure insider knowledge or, they know Tom King's controversy even with Wonder Woman. So it's kind of like, but at the same time, Gunn doesn't care. He, has his thing where it's like he likes it, so it's going to be whatever. At some point, it seemed like DC is protective of Tom King for some reason, but again, his sales always end up flopping. So I don't know why he is protected the way he is.
Eventually, they'll get it. But anyway, so then we get to recent appearances. Britt, tell us about the recent appearances.
Well, you do have New Gods by Ramvi, which is very interesting. Is the art is very unique, I would say. The story I don't really get because the way Ramvi writes is very poetic in a way. It's just, I would say, very abstract, but I guess he has a pretty good grasp on the New Gods. Then you also had Big Barda on Birds of Prey, and that book is actually ending, I think, on the 28th issue.
Yeah.
So that's that. But well, besides the New Gods book, Miracle isn't really anywhere else. And then you have their daughter Olivia. Right now she's just a baby, cuter, of course, than Trinity.
So she's an actual human baby instead of a Chucky baby.
Exactly.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So then we get to, so tell us about our little story.
All right. So again, with all of this, we always do a crossover story, which we probably incorporate into Shelterverse in about another 10 years.
Mhm.
But
When we actually get to updating the story, hint hint.
I said it will be during the holidays. So,
All right, we'll see. I'm only
um,
kidding. I'm only kidding.
so the antagonist is Granny Goodness
Mhm.
and her new female fury. She's looking for an army. So she starts abducting Earth children, to forge a new generation of soldiers. So Superman and Wonder Woman, of course, intervene. She also has this um, grudge against Scott and Barda and wants their child too, of course, because what better revenge is to take their child when she felt that Scott was, in a sense, hers, in a way of seeing him grow up and um, had that sort of connection to with Barda. Um, so with this story, it also shows how Clark and Diana are dealing with cosmic, godly threats, as well as you have the gods, Olympian gods, will always be in the middle some type of way. They have to be muddling through, especially Strife. I just want to incorporate her in some kind of way. And then you have Clark and Diana as Superman and Wonder Woman also dealing with, because of this threat um, with Granny Goodness, it affects Earth itself. And
Mhm.
again, with that expectation that they need to fix this. And some people think that they are the problem.
Mhm.
Um, and especially with them being in a public relationship or romantic relationship.
Mhm.
And with that, though, of course, you have Barda and Scott feeling like, well, it's not their problem anymore. They
Mhm.
don't want to deal with it. It's kind of like you find a solution for yourself, and we'll just be there, I guess, pretty much at the last minute. But right now, we're not dealing with that. So,
Real quick, I just want to address. So, Jake says, I'm going to be honest, Super Wonder is boring. I prefer the canon counterparts. Well, the canon counterparts are even more boring. So, where does that go?
right.
I just
I
wanted to
mean,
bring that up.
all
Hmm.
right. So, let me answer this.
Yeah.
So, you have Clark and Lois, which again, what actually do they have? They are both reporters, okay. They You have where you say Lois anchors Clark. He has tons of anchors, whether it's Jimmy, um, everyone around. You have the Kents first and foremost. You have Lana. You have everyone that he has encountered as an anchor, and also himself. That is the reason why even the Clark Kent persona is very, important because of how he was raised and who that is a reminder, of that. With with Steve, he's a military guy. No one really cares, for that sort of glorification. He doesn't do anything for Diana. That's why he was not a love interest for 30 years. And most of her better stories, well known stories, he was not involved with. And it's also very problematic because you basically Disneyfy Diana as this glorified Disney princess. Um, Especially if you
Uh,
compare her to
real
Little
quick,
Mermaid.
Lord Zed. It's like, wait, so you're saying Superman and Wonder Woman aren't normal, but it's so predictable for Super Wonder, them both being normal people does. Well, I think it's predictable that they have canon counterparts. That's predictable. If you're talking about romantic, like they have to be with Clark, with Lois, and or Steve. Guess what? That's the definition of predictable.
Yeah, I mean, you. It doesn't really make sense to argue about you know, being predictable or obvious when that is what's set as the predictable outcome or the obvious outcome is Lois and Steve being the love interest, even though again, Steve was not the love interest for 30 something years. And Lois, I mean, she right now, she really does not have a place. You actually haven't seen much of her because she is the EIC of the Daily Planet. So how much will she actually have screen time or panel time um within the books? And especially when Superman is dealing with an event as the KO event or whatever. Even within that preview, she was serving um what hors d'oeuvres or whatever, while
Mm-hmm.
they're playing board games. I mean, she really just does not have a role. And even with giving her powers, that was done it the way Williamson described it was he didn't know what to do with Lois. So he gave
Mm-hmm.
her powers just to have fun, but that didn't last long because he seemed bored. It was very superficial. It did not really explore anything much but to give her powers. And I mean, she didn't do anything with them. So she's back as EIC and she doesn't have a role in anything else within the main book from Williamson. And then even in Superman Unlimited by what's the guy's name?
Who? What? I'm sorry.
Superman Unlimited.
Dan Slott.
Yeah, him.
Wait, it's not unpredictable because people have this weird obsession with characters being with other characters that are quote on their level. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Tell me you have a superficial understanding of Clark and Wonder Woman without telling me you don't have a superficial understanding.
I mean,
I would
what is
invite
the
you. I would invite you to actually read the Superman Wonder Woman book, and maybe that'll give you some indication.
I mean, what's the problem with someone being on your level? You want to have that understanding. You want to have that um equality. that's that was the whole thing that we were talking about earlier, is how is Clark and Diana's relationship put under a microscope and said to be, basically ostracized for being what a relationship is supposed to be. You're supposed to strive for equality. You're supposed to strive for respect, have someone that you have similarities to, but also you have differences, you know, um, and it's still something that can be a challenge. What's really a challenge when you know that the pairing is going to be together? As again, you see in the Superman movie, you don't see how Clark and Lois get together. They're just together.
And real
Even
quick, hang on. I read it wasn't that good. Did you read the first two volumes or did you read the Tomasi part? The Tomasi part's the not good part. But anyway, yeah. Okay. With respect, because some people prefer couples on their level due to them being much more interesting. And you can't, because here's the thing. What originality do you have with Lois? Oh, he's going to save her for the umpteenth time. Yeah, I'm like, no. And by Lord Zed says, this claim is false on so many levels. People are more obsessed with superheroes than ordinary civilians these days. Yeah, exactly. That's the point there. That's plus objectively from a story perspective, there's so much more you could do because Superman's never going to have to save Diana. He always has to save Lois.
But it's not even about the saving part. It's the fact that you are blending worlds together. And that's the challenge within itself, of trying to make these characters work with their supporting cast and making it larger, making their worlds larger in that notion. Whether you create new villains or supporting cast, like how Sewell did when he created Hesha, you know,
Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
or
yeah, go ahead. Or
the fact that you have the power couple versus the evil power couple, and you blend that in with Apollo, being salty that he got beat up, um, giving Zod and Theora a power upgrade. So those are the things that are explored, but also it's the fact that, again, what we've been talking about is that there's public scrutiny. There's um this public notion, with their characters, and it's a character study that you don't really have with Superman, because he has to choose one identity over the other. You have to choose a one way with him in order to make Lois work.
Only times it wasn't bland was in situations where they outlived everyone. Okay, that's wrong. So it's like, let me put it this way: if you have your own opinion, that's fine. Don't come in here and try and force your opinions on other people. That's it. But anyway, so Britt, continuing on with our story.
Okay, so Act 1. Again, you basically have them as the celebrity couple. And what I mean by celebrity is, again, the whole public figure that they are. In a sense, it's inspired by New 52, where you have News 52 always reporting on them every, you know, um, anytime someone can get a picture of them or whatever. But that's not really their their main focus. They really just want to let the world know that they aren't like the gods at all, that they are here for to be those, protectors. um and Clark and Diana also have this private conversation, though, much like what was in Sewell's book, of can we make this work, with the world just always in our ear or in our business. Can we not let this become a distraction? Not only our relationship, but just the public, period. And
Yeah,
then with
exactly.
Big Barda and Miracle, they they're still just happy. They're happy that they have escaped from all the trauma, and it's basically like sunshine, rainbows and sunshines with them.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. So what else? What do you have?
So we have Act 2,
Okay.
which is basically Granny Goodness. She is ready for, again, trying to create a new army. Calabac, he leads, some raids and spreading fear. Darkseid, he's not really within the story, but he's blooming there. You know that he has a presence, and you're kind of just waiting for him to make an appearance. So you don't really know when he's going to come about, or if he is at all. Then Superman and Wonder Woman, they try to, you know, fight the Furies on their own, but they need help. The Justice League, I would have them doing their own thing. So it's kind of like they can help, but not so much, just in order to bring in Scott and Barda.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, but they are also, again, very much reluctant because they just don't want to open up that wound and deal with the trauma again.
Yeah, exactly.
So Act 3 is Clark. I would say that they have the same scene from the movie when Clark and Diana ended up, and Batman ended up at their house. Because they're there, Scott decides to invite them for dinner for them to talk.
Okay.
It's like,
Real quick, hang on, Jake. She was like we just said, she was given powers, and My Adventure with Superman is not the ideal choice to give as an example. Anyway, continue, Britt. I'm sorry.
um, so you have this dinner scene and they're talking, and Clark and Diana are basically trying to make their case of why they should,
Mm-hmm.
help in. in a sense, Clark and Diana in return will help them. Anything, if it does open old things, they will try to help as best they could. And then you have this subplot going on with Clark and Diana still going through a lot of the some crowds, or some groups are worshiping them as like the new Olympians. And then you have Granny Goodness having like camps, and and you see people or kids, basically in the same position Scott and Barda was in.
Mm-hmm.
So Act 4, you have the confrontation, which is now Scott and Barda has decided to help, and it's an all-out battle. Diana is battling Lashina, and basically invoking the animated fight scene. I really do love that fight scene because it shows how
Yes.
formidable Diana is,
Them
and
teaming up, I
Barda
love
teaming
that.
up, right? But honestly, you need more of that, and that's another thing. When you have to put down other characters, especially when you know that they're strong, for certain characters like Lois and having her defeat the Furies, jumping the shark in that way, that's not interesting at all.
Mm-hmm.
You're not
Or where she shows up in the Hellbat suit, and I go, how
right.
is that
You're
working?
not making these characters interesting. Yes, it's fiction, but at the same time, you just go overboard, and it's at the expense of other characters. But you have Clark facing Calabac, and this is basically like the son of Earth and Krypton versus the son of um, Tyranny. And then Scott do, goes against Granny, and he lets her know in a way how he feels. And then and Barda, not only is she fighting the Furies, but she's also defending Scott.
Okay.
And then again, Darkseid, he's just a shadow. He's not really going to appear.
Yeah, exactly. So Act 4 then?
Act 5.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Sorry. I don't know why I didn't change slides. All right, so here you go. Here's the slide for Act 4, everyone. My apologies. Here you go.
And then we're on Act 5 now.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that.
So we have, of course, Granny and the Furies have been defeated. And everything, the prisoners are going back home or wherever, they are to be. Most of the children are kind of orphans, so they have to go back to an orphanage, and this goes into Diana as an ambassador. So she will, of course, take on the project to create a better environment and a better, orphanage for children.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then you basically have the couples, Diana and Clark, realizing that it's not going to go anywhere. They have to embrace that they are symbols, that they are going to be worshipped, they are going to be hated or whatever, but they just have to go with the flow and believe in themselves and believe in each other, that they can continue on having this partnership to do what they, set out to do, which is protect people and strive for the betterment of the world in its entirety. And then Scott and Barda, they basically go back to their domestic life with their daughter.
Yeah.
And they live happily ever after. That's it.
Until they're written by Tom King. I'm sorry. Well, if we were in charge, it wouldn't happen, but still.
Right.
But yeah, so I love that story. Of course, I love all your stories. Of course, on the Access Media when it comes to Brit stuff. So there you go. That's my cross to bear. But luckily, it's an easy cross to bear because your stuff is always good.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And by the way, okay, guys, I'm just going to tell us again. Can we drop this argument? Okay, it's becoming a disruption in the chat. Jake, it's nothing against you. It's just please drop the argument. We've moved beyond this. Okay.
All right. I still want to answer this. Right
oh
quick.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
The cheerleader thing. First off, what's wrong with that, Britt? Go.
All right. So first of all, the whole cheerleader jock thing. Okay, that really sounds like some some kind of like jealous nerd, like really in a sense, yeah, jealous of these people, and it's very high school, it's very childish.
Mhm.
Being a cheerleader or a jock is not the insult anyone thinks it is. It's really not. As someone who was a um, dancer, or wasn't a cheerleader, but in the drill team, and I still had advanced classes, So if you want to have this certain um, depiction of a cheerleader or whatever, uh, being like what, an airhead or something, no, that does not exist in reality. If Clark being a jock, first of all, that was Burns' thing,
And
having Clark,
also Clark is the biggest nerd around. And by the way, Louise,
and
no.
very much.
You can come to my opinion if you have like a difference of you can come on this. You can be in the chat if you have a difference of opinion, but it's like maybe like keep it on.
Be respectful.
Be respectful, number one, but also don't just randomly say. By the way, I don't like SuperWonder when we're talking about another couple.
Right. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the jock thing, Clark is the son of a scientist. He's very smart. Now, does DC show Clark's intelligence? No,
Nope.
because they have to have
That's too hard, Britt.
they have to glorify Batman or Lois. But Clark is very intelligent. He has a fortress, he has a planetarium, he has a lab, So very intelligent. Diana, the same way. You can read Wonder Woman 170. I have issues with that because Diana ended up being a mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
However, you do explore her every day as a hero, and part of that is her being a scientist. And she's also a teacher, educator, and in showing her work as an ambassador, and a diplomat and everything like that. So going back to the whole cheerleader and jock thing, first of all, Diana would not be a cheerleader. She is more of, cheerleading is sort of a sport, but she would be more as a volleyball player, or hell, she would be on the football team. She would do track or something like that. Clark, the football thing, that was Burns, and but even as that all-star football player, as I said, he was very smart and intelligent in school. So what's the issue with that? But even he would be on the debate team. Diana would be on the debate team. She would be class president, things like that. So to try to insult SuperWonder, you're making things up and purposely making the relationship seem very superficial when it's not like that at all. You have never actually had any examples of Clark and Diana being this very high school childish stereotype of a cheerleader and a jock.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, John Jones. Bye. What's up, man? I haven't seen you for a while. He goes, Diana would run track. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Diana would do something like that. So it
But
doesn't really make sense.
but what is inherently interesting about the two powerful people together? Well, look at how
It's not about them being powerful. That's the thing.
yeah.
You look at them as what we've said within the how long we've been 2 hour,
Well, not
two
only that,
and a half
Britt,
hours,
for
but
112 episodes.
episodes. And the main thing about them is that they are immigrants. They are outsiders, that they represent others.
Read Justice League 12 by Jeff Johns of the New 52. The last I think it's like 4 or 5 pages of that issue perfectly encapsulates it.
Yes, it's never about them being too powerful. But yes, that is part of it in a sense of, like I said, the expectations as heroes. But even in Superman and Wonder Woman by Sewell, it's in black and white, where Diana repeatedly says strength isn't everything. So obviously she means, physical power she does not care for. What she cares for is the heart and respect. And that is what the foundation of their relationship is, respect and honesty. And just being two good-natured people that have found someone who understands each other's burdens.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, looking at this purely from a power perspective is, and I mean this with all due respect, extremely superficial.
Yeah, I mean, even if you want to, let's go with the traditional couples, because at first, Lois did not care for Clark Kent at all.
And
And
by
you
the
have
way, the Siegel and Schuster didn't want Clark to ever be with Lois.
They didn't want him to be married. She was to be the love interest or so, but yeah, the whole thing about them being married was a no-go. But also she had to be retconned to care for Clark and everything like that within the Bronze Age to be basically acceptable as a love interest. Other than that, you have um Superman's girlfriend, where she's trying to have Superman marry her in a very problematic, sexist way.
Oh, you
And
mean,
then
are you talking about the issue where she does blackface? Oh,
that's it.
he's supposed to be a revolutionary form of positive masculinity, therefore him being a woman who's way above. Yeah, but no, that's the whole purpose of that is so Marston could self-insert himself into dating Wonder Woman. That's the reason
Yeah,
why.
and Steve is not that. Steve was also basically very much trying to have Diana marry him and stop being Wonder Woman.
Oh, and also Steve wasn't the love interest for Wonder Woman for 5 years before King got on, and then like the entirety of post-Crisis.
He was, if you want to add it up as even New 52, he really wasn't a love interest like that.
He was a
So
stalker, as a matter of fact. So
so
yeah,
you
yeah,
have
real
30
positive
years.
examples of masculinity.
So you have 30 years of not being a love interest for post-crisis. Then you have them dead for any amount of years and probably pre-crisis. So that's another 10 to 20 years. And then you have 5 years of New 52 and then 5 years
No, that's
after.
not the purpose, though. That's not the purpose of Diana, period. Her being on a man not with a level. That's not the purpose of Wonder Woman. Where are you basing this off of? Anyway, we have to continue on. But it's like, yeah, I'm like, what are you basing this off of? So next up, so remember I talked about Britt is a genius at naming Tom King Wonder Woman issues. Here we go. The misadventures of Steve Trevor's Chucky doll sitter on Wondrous Wonder Woman. I mean, Unmoored.
Well, I was trying to say she's not wonderful, but
So,
that works
okay.
too.
I read this issue. First off, here's the funny part. This is the other thing. This is the first appearance of Matriarch. No one cares about her.
I mean, are we really supposed to care?
No, we're obviously not. So I'm going to go through each of these points here, Britt, because you summarized it pretty well. The Men of the Justice die pathetically. Hawkman literally takes off his wings and allows himself to be pushed off a building. And I go, if you know anything about Hawkman, he would literally be charging at Matriarch, swinging his mace, going out fighting. But no, he's like, ah. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
he just gives up.
Yeah,
It's
he just
kind
gives
of
up. And it's like all the other ones die in like very like stupid ways. And then second off, then you have the Matriarch is a boring Mary Sue of a villain. And by the way, the introduction, she still hasn't said anything. Wait, Marston was a feminist who wanted to go against traditional. Oh, really? Oh, you mean where he wanted to put a bunch of bondage in his books and manipulated his intern into being in a manipulative relationship? Is that what you're talking about? Anyway,
But the thing is,
Mhm.
hold on. The thing is, Clark and Diana goes against tradition. Like they're
Exactly.
that was the point. Is that I mean, again, Tomasi admitted it, saying that Diana demanded equal spotlight, and he would have rather wrote Lois baking pies. So obviously, Clark and Diana goes against traditional relationships when not only the the outlook of the relationship is about outsiders that don't live in a sense of traditional ways of society acceptance. Diana, the way she loves or the way she sees relationships is not one as accepted of an American woman, and we see that in New 52. So, yeah, whatever these ideas are coming from was not presented in the actual books.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, continuing on with this. So, all right, the whole Mouse Man knows nothing is getting really old. Also, so here's the other thing. Tom King takes all of his issues and makes it infinitely worse. Like now you have the Cat Army, which, by the way, the Cat Army, even the Doctor, no one speaks English on this island. It's like the cat doctor goes, "You'll heal good, or you'll fine again." And I go, "What
The
is
Cat
this?
Army is also
Child
child
soldiers?"
soldiers.
Yeah. So I'm
So,
like, bro, this doesn't look good." And then also, wait, you mad? I'm not mad at the creator. I am just saying that I don't think you should be taking his opinions on what's feminist. That's all I'm
but
gonna say.
I mean, he did write in 1942, a year after Diana's creation, that Clark and Diana was kind of, appropriate. And there's also a 1941 write-up that also alludes to if they are to share, some type of crossover or whatever, they would end up probably together. So, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, going back to this, also the other thing. So every single damn issue, Tom King finds another way for me to go, why did you bring your child into a combat zone? Because Diana's in the sewer. She's attacked by a giant rat. She dives under the water with her daughter. She dives into sewer water with her daughter.
And
And
she
then
tells her
here's
to
the worst.
hold her breath.
She doesn't hold her breath. It gets worse, Britt. Somehow Trinity surfaces alone. So it's just a baby floating there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I mean, she should have
what?
drowned, but
Yeah, no, but I'm just like, with that, I'm like, what the hell is this?
I don't know. But she definitely right there looks like a Cabbage Patch, I told you. So,
Yeah, oh, she does. Well, not only that, it's like even on like that preview of like that Justice League book that basically summarizes All In, Trinity looks so dead.
I mean, she is. So,
No, but Zed, no, I cover it because you know what? Because people are going to inevitably ask me to what I thought of this Wonder Woman issue, And B, here's the thing. No, I got to constantly be the one voice that tells you, no, this is crap. Okay. But it's because here's the thing. Being a content creator means sometimes covering stuff that I don't want to cover. And Britt knows what that's like, right?
I sure do.
There are some times where I'm like, yeah, Britt's gonna kill me soon from all the crap I make her do. But NJ says, also this is the same writer that made Selena a better mom than Diana. Yeah, exactly. But it's like, so the kid was breathing in sewer water this whole time. And I love this too. So when Jim and I were ranting about this, they brought up an interesting, funny part, Britt. At the end of this, Wonder Woman walks up to what's the word? Walks up to the cabin. There are some guards out there playing cards, and they basically shoot at her, and she deflects it, and she goes, "Can you point me to where Etta Candy and like Emily are?" And I'm like, there's literally a cabin right in front of you. Like, what the hell is this? It's like, this is how I know King hates Wonder Woman, because he's writing her like she's a freaking moron.
Well, she is, because she admits it, saying that she's a coward and fake crying, which honestly, the way she was supposedly crying, it looks so stiff. The art just looks very stiff.
Well, not only that,
to say that
like, go ahead.
To say that she doesn't have any motivation to do anything because of Steve is kind of like, what? If you want to talk about Clark and Diana going against tradition, or they are, going against Diana's purpose, the relationship wouldn't be that the world come first.
Yeah,
exactly. Their duty, and they wouldn't be as selfless as they are. But yet, within these traditional relationships, you have Clark, who can't be Kal-El. He has to basically divorce himself from his heritage in order to be with Lois. He has to only be Clark Kent in order to justify his humanity, or say he's only human, or whatever. And then with Diana, the fact that this whole run has been about her going on this vengeance thing, or not doing anything at all because she needed Steve to be her motivation, is very selfish, and that is what goes against her purpose.
Yeah, it's like in the dialogue, she goes, the man, it's like she goes, I am unmoored. It's like, I'm a coward because I'm unmoored. And the implication is I'm unmoored because Steve died. So literally everything about this, about every action this woman takes is motivated by Steve Trevor. And I go, that is not Diana.
Or it's not just the action that she takes, but the lack of action.
Oh my gosh, yes. Remember where she sat on her ass all day while the Wonder Twins did all the work so she could make a statue of Steve?
The Wonder Twins.
Wait, what? Oh, the Wonder Girls. Sorry. I'm so discombobulated from bullshit.
What's the Wonder Twins?
No, yeah, I know. I was like, yeah, they might as well. Let me put it to you that way. But it's like, again, it's like, this is again my point. This, combined with Trinity flopping hard, brings to mind a couple of different scenarios. Now here's the thing. I want to bring this up. So obviously this book is not. It's the other thing. Again, this book is nowhere near the top seller. That's always a bad thing. And here's the other thing. I have it on good authority from my friend Jim from Weird Science that DC is going to be relaunching. It's going to be like across the line. A lot of books are getting new creative teams, and this backs up what Scott Snyder had said earlier. That's going to be announced. And with this sales doing really horribly, and Trinity, the reason for this run existing, flopping harder than a man with erectile dysfunction, and that's the only appropriate way to describe this run, by the way. I strongly, I don't have any information to confirm particularly this, but I wouldn't be surprised, let me put it to you that way, if King's Run is among those that gets a new creative team. And by the way, from what I heard, it's a lot of these books are going to be relaunched with number ones.
I mean, well, I wouldn't be surprised because this whole all-in dark side thing is supposed to go into 2026, 2027. So yeah, I would say if the announcement isn't within the 2026 slate, it would be 2027, which honestly makes sense because if Gunn actually moves fast enough instead of moving like he got molasses, the Wonder Woman DCU, her debut is supposed to be 2028 or so. So it would make sense for her to end up with a new creative team within that 2027 to have it, established, and then move on to 2028, which is her movie.
Exactly. So, but I still feel like of the either of those is a likely option, but for sure. I do think that the sales are not too, particularly with Trinity, the book flopping, because that's the reason why he came on this stupid book. But so that's why I'm like, here's the scenario. Either way, here's what I think is going to happen. Are you ready? Plus, also, it fits with the run being announced to end, fits with the 7-week delay for Trinity, because it could be they're redoing the entire ending to like so it ends more definitively. But anyway, the scenario that I see here is, and by thank you, Lewis, the scenario that I have here that I'm thinking of here. Wait, that will be too late. Praying he gets out ASAP. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, exactly. But so what I think is going to happen, he gets announced he's leaving, and then whoever the next writer is, I could see Kelly Thompson like completely like dropping Trinity as a character, unless DC Editorial is so stuck on Trinity. At the very least, I see her retconning the origin so that Steve has no role in the origin for Trinity. That's at the very least.
Exactly.
But in terms of like if Trinity lasts, no, I don't see her lasting past this run. I just don't.
I mean, her own solo or whatever didn't last, so
exactly.
Why would she last now? And being a baby, and also just his, as you said, his whole entire purpose of this run was for Trinity, and the fact that you give her a solo title, and it flops immediately. And then to know that the main book is flopping, the main line across the board of DC is flopping. And as I said, they need relaunches every year now. And also, not only that, but their main line can't even sustain ongoing books.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with Green Arrow and such. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so but I think that's enough talking about. And by the way, hello, David Cornsweat. If this is really you, welcome. I liked you in Superman. If this isn't you, well, it's a parody account. Anyway, continuing on, but this could not have been the more dichotomy of man week, Britt, because oh my God. Dave says, Trinity is the Amazon version of a Tylenol dumpster baby.
Wow.
Dave, goddamn. Well done, sir. But so here's the thing. So not only did we get this crapshoot of a book, we got Absolute Wonder Woman 12, the debut of Absolute Hippolyta and the Amazons. And first off, can I say Diana fighting with a trident will never not be cool, first off. Second off, I love that design for Hippolyta.
Hippolyta and those, first of all, their eyes are so pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think of all the gold and stuff?
I mean, that really, it actually fits Hippolyta, I would say. I like the purple she usually has, but this works better.
I mean, it works for the absolute, but I mean, with the whole clang, clang, clang. It could be a bell, but my own headcanon is that an Amazonian like tradition is they all clang their bracers
Bracelet.
together in
Right.
celebration. By the way, I also, this panel that's a zoom in on Diana's face. This is now my favorite panel that like Sherman has ever drawn of Wonder Woman. Like, look at that.
Yeah. I mean, it has its moments where the art is a little off sometimes, but I would say that the close-ups and just Diana's overall design, especially with her having these bright um blue eyes, is so piercing, and then, the black lipstick and just the way she's drawn sometimes, it she does stand out, and this is the only time I would honestly be okay with taller Diana.
Well, yeah, and also with this, we got the debut of like so. The idea is that Veronica Cale is going to send absolute Zatanna against Diana, and of
You
course,
mean Hannibal Lecter?
well, because it makes sense because Zatanna uses like her voice for magic, so of course they would muzzle her. That makes sense. But we also get, as she's walking down the hall, we get looks at like absolute cheetah, absolute like blank and blank and blank. This was the Easter egg issue.
Right. It was
Yeah.
pretty good to show, Diana's world, but it also, she clarified on Blue Sky that Diana will never see the Amazon. So it'll be very,
Tragic.
that they are alive. It's just where they are is it it's Diana will
Here's what
never
they
see
could
them.
do. In the same way that like Diana was sent to hell as a prison, what if Themyscira was created by Zeus to be a prison for the Amazons?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think that's what it is. But it also, I mean, that is the one criticism I have of Absolute is it is treading some threads that have already been,
Mm-hmm.
because she does have the same rebirth supporting cast in a sense, um
Not
she
necessarily.
does.
She doesn't have Minerva.
Barbara is there.
Not. Oh yeah, she is. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting. So I guess the absolute cheetah is Priscilla Rich.
Probably so. So
Yeah.
you do have the rebirth um whole line. Diana can't go back to the mascara. It's just a few twists here and there, but that's what I'm saying, that it does feel a little bit safe, but it's better than the main line. So, you'll take what you can get. And I think that is the issue though with Diana, is that when you have this safety with her with some things, it's kind of like the expectations go lower for her. And as I said, yes, she is giving us a very in character Diana, but at the same time, I still feel like it's going too safe just because the main line is as bad as it is.
Yeah, exactly. But also, NJ says she also said depends on the overall arc, so maybe along the way we'll see her reunite. Well, it could be she like sees them, but it's like she won't be able to actually be on the island with them.
Exactly. I could see probably like some sort of like maybe it's a mirror or
Mm-hmm.
something
like a
that she's
two-way mirror, essentially.
exactly, and maybe they won't be able to physically touch, but just see each other.
Yeah, that's gonna wreck me. Oh my gosh, man! But it's like, again, the dichotomy. We have the worst Wonder Woman issue so far, and then we have this, and I'm like, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, ladies and gents. Like,
Right.
oh my god. But
I
yeah,
mean,
but overall, by Britt, how do you rate the Absolute Wonder Woman 12?
now this one I will give a 9.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that. How about Wonder Woman 25? That silence. I love that silence.
That's my answer right there.
You wouldn't even dignify it with a response. Oh, I love that. With me, I gave it a 2 purely because of Semper's art, but even then it is a little
No,
stiff. But
no, even Cynthia, because I'm sorry, you try to, of course, support the artist, because you think that, oh, well, they're just doing the art. However, the way Cynthia has been a little snide, and the back and forth of, well, this wasn't my idea, this was Tom King, I'm just the artist. But at the same time, Tom King says, well, Cynthia's idea was that he wanted to draw this certain thing, so yeah, he takes a little bit of the the slack too, with how he's not even taking consideration of the criticism that the Wonder Woman fans have. And he also, I think, has blocked certain fans for the criticism, and like I said, instead of taking heed to it. I'm not saying taking heed to the rude comments. I'm talking about the actual constructive criticism.
yeah, that's the thing. If DC thinks that like that like what King is doing is like support and love, it's been nothing but positivity. Yeah, when you block everyone that has even the slightest amount of criticism, I know that's what it looks like.
Right, but no, we are actually having constructive criticism. I mean, I know I have, with my threads that continue to be shared, and I appreciate that.
Even
But
to today, Britt, it's like all the old threads, and I go, oh, okay.
yeah, it's like we have something to say, and um, we just want Diana to have respect, but we don't want the bare minimum either.
Yeah, exactly. But Dave the Impaler says Hayden Sherman's Absolute Wonder Woman art reminds me of a more stylized Tony Harris or J.H. Williams III, maybe a little Paul Pope in there. Yeah, exactly. It does have that kind of look on it. But I love the idea of Diana. Also, this is Diana discovering that Atlantis exists as well. So I'm like, oh wow, there's so much going on in this issue.
Right. And with Scott Snyder saying that she's the Nexus, I would say that I think, a lot of the other absolute characters will be introduced within her book.
Yeah, I would say so.
I wouldn't be surprised if Aquaman will be along with Zatanna.
With this, yeah. By the way, can I say one thing about this issue as well? Here's the other thing that I love this. Yes, and NJ, you literally read my mind. I was going to talk about this. All right. So the part with Clea where she tells Clea how to escape from the maze, and basically says, "No, I'm going to let you escape, and I'm going to trust you that you are going to try and turn your life around, and I'm going to give you a second chance." And I go, again, that is literally what Diana would do.
Exactly. Diana is about redemption. And the only way she wouldn't be is kind of like a Max Lord situation.
Well, yeah, because with Max Lord in that situation, it was like an end of the world type scenario. And by the way,
Right.
Lewis says, I think Scott Snyder's the head of the absolute universe, but it's more of like each team can do what they want in the book as long as they don't like contradict each other.
Right. Right.
Which I love. It's so good, Britt, isn't it great, Britt, to talk about a good Wonder Woman book? Because remember when it was just Tom King's Wonder Woman releasing and we didn't have any good Wonder Woman books?
True.
That's why I hold these absolute Wonder Woman issues so close, because like there was a time when we didn't have that. That's why when I first dropped Tom King's Wonder Woman, I went back because it's like I don't have any Wonder Woman books. When Absolute showed up, I was like, see ya.
And
Bye,
that,
Felicia.
wow, dear.
And guess what? I haven't looked back ever since. And honestly, I've been very happy about it, because it's like I feel lighter, and it's been really fun to watch the utter downfall of this series. Because I got news for you. This series, because according to what Jim said, because he tracks on with like a lot of what the fans are saying, this is being labeled as the worst Wonder Woman run of all time.
As it should.
As it should. Yes, exactly. But Dave says, I would go as far as to say Absolute is already my all-time favorite version of Wonder Woman. That's a bold statement. I still prefer Perez, but yeah, it's up there in my top 5 versions of Wonder Woman. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, so it kind of reminds me of a certain Snyder just saying, oh yeah, isn't it kind of fun? So you're saying this is a Snyder verse? Anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. But Brett, this was fun, and I believe next week we are discussing 1 year of Absolute Wonder Woman, right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So next week we'll be doing a full-on retrospective of Absolute Wonder Woman. We'll be discussing like each issue, our favorite parts, our favorite panels. There's gonna be so much we can do about that. It's gonna be really fun. I can't wait for that one. But yeah, so Britt, do you have any stories you want to share with us?
Okay, so I've just finished 2 um, shorts.
Mm-hmm.
So those will be, well, first of all, given to you first and then uploaded. Second, I am, again, as I said, the 3rd chapter to be holiday special. No, the 4th chapter, my bad, of Shelter will be during the holidays, just to, again, set the holiday mood. Other stories that I have will still come in between that. I do have a new story that's 6 chapters or so, very short. That will be uploaded as well. And then I am doing a lot of Twitter threads. I will be
Really great
running,
threads too.
thank you. I will be running a poll after the thread that I'm doing now, which is basically giving the history of ACO. We already did an episode on that, but a lot of people on Twitter, of course, ACO is popular, Project ACO,
Mm-hmm.
but she's very popular with the anime community, and people know that she is the daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman. But I don't think, well, it's the fact that the Wonder Woman fans and some of the fans just don't want to believe it, or they don't have that knowledge. But it's also more that Aiko represents basically the daughter that Wonder Woman fans want. She does have Diana's spirit in a sense. It's campy, it's comedy, but she still embodies, a Wonder Woman character in a sense. And she's also, well, she has the representation as a queer character as well. And that is something else that Wonder Woman fans, you know, want and want that type of representation. So I'm going to let that be known that if you wanted a template or a Wonder Woman daughter done right, it's Aiko.
Hell, well, yeah, and yeah, it's like I love how many examples of Wonder Woman having a daughter have been done so much better before King came on, and they've been accepted by fans. Isn't that funny?
Right. Well, again, the whole thing is that Diana has to revolve around Steve.
Yeah, exactly. But by the way, Dave says Frank Miller can be a hit or miss, but would you guys be in favor of him writing a canon Super Wonder comic? Yeah, I would. I would.
I think that he would need somewhat of a co-writer. Probably Raphael, grandpa, who did Golden Child. He actually wrote a poem um, about Laura. So I think that he can give a little bit more of a poetic vibe to the couple that, and I think he would be the guide for Frank if Frank just plotted the story out. But of course, Raphael could write a great story, be that co-writer that he needs.
Yeah, I've long said that, and I know you have said this as well, that that when they continue the Mellerverse, for lack of a better term, Sampere will probably be involved.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry. I mean, sorry.
yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
Grandpa.
yes. I'm so confused tonight.
Yeah. I mean, that is their moneymaker in a sense, and unless it fell through, Miller does have uh three more books within his 5-book deal. He
Mhm.
already did two, which was Year One and Golden Child. So he has Carrie Kelly, which is a YA novel.
Okay.
He also had uh Dark Knight 4, that was one of them, and also a World War II story involving the Trinity. Um, so yeah, I mean, he did do a cover for DC, the Batman #1. So I would think that, he still has some type of contract within DC.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so and again, next week is going to be Absolute Wonder Woman, and if you guys would like to be involved in that, come up with like a list of your favorite like Absolute Wonder Woman moments and issues and such, and then DM it to me, and maybe I'll include them as a little "What did the fans say?" But yeah, so stay heroic, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. And Steve Trevor, Steve Never, he belongs at the bottom of a hydraulic press set to maximum strength. Zoe is the Maxibat for life. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.